Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Welcome to our roundtable dedicated entirely to a very particular and very beloved series of video games, Front Mission. A particularly apt series since, I've just been doing a whole bunch of Front Mission videos lately. Our two other guests will be joining us shortly. They had some last minute stuff to take care of. We have returning guests here, Miles J. Literal, who has previously been on the channel and has been dick deep in Front Mission for about as long as I've known him, and especially nowadays. Miles, what the hell have you been up to in this series?
Well, um, it all kind of started with me coming across the Front Mission Wiki again. I'd edited the Front Mission Wiki like years and years ago, mainly by providing like pictures and images and that kind of stuff. Um, and I went back and thought, wow, this wiki's changed a lot. There's a lot of great articles in here and great content. But then saw just a few things that I thought was, oh, this is like a little bit odd to like have in here. I mean, for one thing, you had like Front Mission Zero being listed as a manga and be like right next to the Front Mission manga, and like Front Mission 2, Wanzer's the Elite was called a novel, and I was like, I don't think a guidebook exactly qualifies as a novel. So
It'd have to be very in depth.
yeah, I mean, especially when like Front Mission 1 did have not only a manga but like a full-blown full-length novel
Mm-hmm.
that
Which
came out
recently got
around when
translated. Well,
Ye-
translated, unofficially translated, but it has been done.
oh yeah, yes, yeah. I had only seen images of it before, honestly, due to the Russian Front Mission archiver Oregu.
Yeah, yeah, he's got the website Front Mission Zaftra.
Right. And I follow him on Twitter. We're actually mutuals on Twitter.
Nice.
We like each other's like little Front Mission content from time to time. But yeah, he had all of the images that were in the novel like scanned on his Twitter. And I was like, "Oh wow, this is actually quite a treat," because when I looked at them, I could instantly recognize that they were drawn by Ko Yokoyama.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like blown away by that because one, I already knew that Ko made the actual like mecha design for the first Front Mission game. And then I knew him because of Carnage Heart, because of the whole like sci-fi 3D series and like Motion Krieger and all that. And I was like, oh wow. So like Ko did have like a career or like a time in gaming to like a certain degree. And he was like really involved with this series. So I read that I actually found that novel untranslated on archive.org. And then I also found the manga on like a manga site that I was reading like Dog Life and Dog Style on anyway, and the Drive on anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you shortly
And
to introduce
mhm.
our other one of our other guests, Mr. Sean. Here is also a previous guest on the show. He is the owner of Centerfire Hobbies in Singapore. So yeah, he is a hell of a different time zone from the rest of us. He is the creator of the. Say what? Okay, I don't think I can hear you.
Good evening.
Oh, good evening. There you go.
Just saying good evening. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's the creator of Eisenfront, which is a tabletop skirmish war game that is deeply inspired in a very, very positive way by Front Mission. So we got another guy who really knows how to apply the same principles to a completely different medium. Glad to have you back, Sean. It's been a while and always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have you all been?
Well, we just got started, so glad to have you on board. Miles was talking about how he got, recently been into Front Mission and stuff like that. He was talking about the
Ah,
novelization that recently got, of the first Front Mission that recently got translated, sort of.
I popped in and I heard you all talk. I heard you all mention dog life and dog style.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
exciting.
Yeah, that is, in terms of like, not necessarily adaptations, but in terms of like, Front Mission has this whole transmedia thing going for it, where so much of it goes beyond just the video games themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, holy shit, that is one of my favorite. I honestly, I'm not that big of a manga guy in the sense that I'm not gonna read everything that comes out just because it's manga. But in terms of the stuff that I do like, oh yeah, that one's good.
It's by the same artist who did the Gundam Thunderbolt line and the Fang of the Sun manga that came out short
Yeah, Get
after
Truth.
as well. So
Yeah,
seems
and
like
written
the
by the
three.
same
Yeah,
guy who did Moonlight Mile, which is a really good series as well.
yeah, Yasuo
Mm.
Odagaki. Huge fan.
Mhm.
Huge fan of that man's work.
Yeah. Ironically, it's fully translated in French. So
Ah.
I can technically read the damn thing in book form if I want to. L'utilité d'être au Québec, finalement, on comprend une couple d'affaires ici. But yeah, I think this does bring up something that, the whole translation issue. This is a series that, like, I've got this huge ass book here. We have this huge ass book here. For those who don't know, this is Front Mission World Historica, Report of Conflicts, 1970, 2121. It's a massive guidebook and setting Bible, basically, for the entire series from the original Front Mission to Front Mission 5. And I can't read it for shit because it's all in Japanese, except for very brief bits of English here and there. And I think that pretty much qualifies the whole goddamn series at this point. The amount of stuff up until the recent remakes, you had Front Mission 3 and 4 that came out in the Western languages.
Yep.
Front Mission First, which did get a translation on when it hit PlayStation DS, whichever one.
DS.
And on DS, thanks. And then you have the remake of 2. That was the first time that was officially translated. Everything else has either been fan translated or not translated. So I think, in terms of just why this series doesn't necessarily get the credit it's due, that probably contributed, Squeenix, you bastards.
Well, there's also Front Mission 5, which is considered a very strong entry, but it was the one that only was I think all of us only got in via fan translations, and we had to get it through the emulator.
Yeah, I think the logic there was, well, the Western audiences only got 3 and 4, so if we have a game that's going to cover the entire series, well, there's no point releasing it for them because they wouldn't get all of it. To which I reply, have you met nerds? We will apply ourselves.
To be fair, each of the Front Mission, apart from 5, has a very localized story that could be on its own thing. There are like timelines from 1 to 5, but then they all are individual stories that don't really reference other titles that strongly, so you don't really need like backstory. Like number 2 was in like Pakistan, India-ish. Number 3 was kind of all over, and it's exciting in Front Mission 3 because Singapore was mentioned. You had to break out moneymaker from the jail in Chua Chu Kang. It's pretty fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then 5 was from Huffman Island all the way up to the beginning of Front Mission 3, which was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was pretty much the capstone on the series in many ways. Like, it's, it retcons a bunch of stuff, but it ultimately serves a bit like a finale in a sense, well, of course, then they start trying to do more. It's like the games after 5 have been like Marvel trying to do something after Endgame. It's just not quite worked out for them, has it?
Yeah, it's very interesting because to go even back to the novel for a minute, the novel has the first official timeline of like the entire series. Like it's the first time that they wrote out like every event from like 95 to 2090. And it is very interesting having that first timeline and then going through each guidebook and then seeing how they are all building on this one same reference point.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a good point. There's far too many series that ended up kind of like just going by the seat of their pants instead of having a good core baseline to, a good core timeline to work off of. Like, okay, this is what's going to happen later on. We can start, changing things a little bit or, fluff and building on that, but we have a good skeleton to work on, as opposed to something where they're just making things up from one sequel to another. And I think a lot of that is the fact that up until Front Mission 5, I think that, the creator of Front Mission was still involved throughout all of these, up until Front Mission Evolved, he had left Squeenix at that point. So really, that kind of guiding hand is what I think was missing from it going forward from there. Because really, this is the kind of thing where this is very much a series that, in all its different incarnations, except obviously the spin-off like Gun Hazard, which is doing its own thing story-wise, but even then, something that you mentioned actually when I didn't notice this until then, the Wanzers in that don't really operate like Wanzers very much, but they do operate quite a bit like the Front Mission alternative mission mechs in terms of their customizability and the way they work. So that's an interesting kind of through line from there. There was some thought processes that went into like, is this like an alternate reality where certain things didn't develop in certain directions like that?
I really was quite shocked, frankly, when reading like all of the Front Mission 1 text material and seeing that every last one, that even though Front Mission First never mentions WAW, the books that came out around Front Mission 1 extensively talked about WAW.
Yeah, for those who don't know,
so it's like
WAW is the Wanderwagen as opposed to Wanderpanzer. Wanderwagen were the original mechs designed pre-combat utility that were weaponized going forward, and the Wanderpanzer are the ones that are actually made, the ones that you would play in the most Front missions with the customizable parts and all that stuff. And yes, they are Wanzers because that's how you pronounce it in German.
So yeah, no, go ahead, Sean.
Just like those the WAW look a bit more like construction mechs. Like they look a bit like the alien power loader, a bit like that.
Yeah.
In that they are silhouettes as opposed to War Machine like.
Yeah, that's something that I think is fairly recurring in terms of the more grounded kind of mech settings, or at least mechs in very sci-fi settings. Even going back to Gundam, the original mobile suits were also space-based construction equipment. They were used for building the colonies and stuff like that. And here you have the same exact kind of thing for these, and everything from power loaders from Alien, as you mentioned, to heavy gear, the various gears that were built on Terra Nova started out as construction equipment, then got weaponized, and people realized, oh, hey, this is actually quite useful. Let's make better ones. And there you go. Same thing for the Wanzers.
It's like in real life, tanks are souped up tractors.
Very souped up tractors. Yeah. But yeah. So interesting. This brings us a lot to the setting, because something that's been going around on Twitter right now is another one of those real robot, super robot fights that's constantly happening on these things. Like someone said, "Oh, I prefer my mech settings to be more on the more realistic, grounded side," and someone's just like, "You poser! They're supposed to be super. They start out super," and it's all just a bunch of stupid shit. But Front Mission is ironically one of the settings that is probably one of the more grounded, gritty, realistic, quote unquote, mech settings, at least in terms of gaming. I mean, I can't think of any other ones that really do have this kind of approach, that have had this kind of staying power. Really,
if there are any other, it would probably be a bunch of other obscure Japanese mech games, maybe like Chrome Hounds.
Yeah.
What's that other one that Gun Griffin? Those sort of aesthetics.
Gun Griffin is my jam right there.
Velvet
and
File
we are
2.
joined by, from the far end of time, Mr. Dr. Slammer. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
For those who don't know, Dr. Slammer is a fellow YouTuber, and he has done extensive coverage of Front Mission, both in terms of live playthroughs and extensive retrospective videos. So kudos on those. They're really good, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I suppose the question, now that we have all here together, thank you all for watching, we can get properly started. I suppose, I think Miles mentioned it, but how did you guys get in first contact with this setting in these games?
Should I start first?
Yeah, go ahead.
My my dad went to Thailand, and then he bought for me a bunch of pirated games. Front Mission 3 was one of those. I got hooked instantly. And then yeah, that's kind of where the rabbit hole started. Then shortly after that, there was a long gap. Well, after I finished completing 3 twice, I went to a retro store in America when I was studying there, bought a used PS Lite and the Front Mission 3 game and the guidebook, and just kind of replayed it over and over again.
Nice. Which do you prefer,
Then I bought
Emma,
it. Then I
or
bought it
Alyssa
again.
ending?
So yeah, basically, I just started with Front Mission 3. Got super excited when Singapore was mentioned, and it was one of those games which I just kind of went back over and over again. Then naturally played 4, played 5, got the first Front Mission first on the DS. Haven't actually played the remake of 2 yet, because I'll just be honest. When I saw the how lazy the remakes looked, I was a bit turned off.
Mm. Yeah,
Understandable.
especially for the remake of 3 is just like, I can see what you're going for, and I don't like it. Yeah. What about you, Slammer? How did you get in touch with your inner Wanzer?
Well, it started, like I said in the retrospective video, it started with Front Mission, the original release on the Super Famicom, or Super Nintendo, whichever you prefer. And then from there, I'm trying to think. I think it was about a few years later, my dad bought a secondhand PlayStation 1 with a handful of games, and one of those was Front Mission 3, and I saw that, and I was super excited. But it got me thinking, like, where's Front Mission 2 at? Which for a while I thought Gun Hazard was Front Mission 2, because I had played that when I was, discovering emulation and whatnot.
It could have been worse. I mean, that is if that was going to be Front Mission 2, that's a pretty good sequel to have.
Yeah. I mean, like, I didn't like it at first, but only because I was hoping for another strategy game. But, since I replayed it as I got older, it grew on me, and I appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Gun Hazard is like, holy crap, they really did pull like almost a Zelda 2 on this one. And actually pulled it off really, really well, because in terms of like side-scrolling action RPG mech games, there really aren't that many out there, to tell the truth. And this one is damn good too.
I mean, it helps that it basically has the skeleton of Assault Suit Vulcan as well, which is also a really good game.
Yeah, and some of the same developers who worked on it too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like so many of the people who worked at Messiah went down to found Omiyasoft, which was the makers of Gun Hazard, who also, as it turns out, made a game called Armor Troopers Armadyne.
Yes.
Armadyne.
Yeah, which is, I just recently heard about this game.
Cool, Sean knows about it too.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Japan, for not letting me know about this earlier. And it's basically, it seems, from what I can tell, to play like Front Mission, but it's got space missions, and you go to the moon and Mars, and you have
that sounds cool.
A relationship building thing in the barracks where you can have your little soldiers train next to each other, and you get bonuses if their personalities match and stuff like that. It's like Connect 4 with relationships, and it's all in Japanese. I need it for proper translation. It looks.
Just one thing. A lot of these obscure Japanese games have a lot of layers of detail to them. You could say they're really built for artists.
So us, really.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, people on Twitter have seen what I've done with my closet in terms of display cases. Not quite as good as Sean's there, but I'm getting there. What about you, Miles? When was the first time you ever heard of Front Mission?
Oh, okay, because I know that when we started, you're asking me about the wiki. So my Front Mission story, if I was being entirely honest with you guys, is actually very bizarre and trippy, but I'll go into it. Because the first Front Mission game I actually played was Front Mission 4. And it's because a friend of mine lived like right next to our high school, and so I'd just go to his house out, after school we'd hang out, and he had Front Mission 4. He was a huge fan. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is like awesome. Like, yeah, I'm gonna like play this with you like basically every day for the duration of the game." But then I was curious of like, well, clearly because this is on the PS2, this must have been on like other game systems. And because I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, so when I moved to New York City and I was in high school in New York, a friend of mine was playing Front Mission 1 on the DS, and he showed it to me, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually the first game in this series. Finally, yes, I can get an origin story." Because I loved the story of 2096, but I just kind of felt like I was watching a Jason Bourne movie, except I'd missed like the beginning of it. And so I played Front Mission 1, and so I felt, okay, I've got a basis to work with. And then I got very much into emulation. And so that's how I ended up playing Front Mission 3. I played it on EPSXE from beginning to end in like college. And then I played Front Mission 5 also. I do have a memory of actually burning it to a DVD where I could play it on my PS2. And then finally I played Front Mission 2 when the Front Mission Translation Project made the translation for it.
Did you have like a text file on your computer next to it so you could read it when all the event stuff was happening, the parts that didn't get translated?
Oh man, at that time, because I wasn't as fluent in being able to read like Japanese or being able to like read or speak Mandarin Chinese. So yeah. I did have like just a little booklet right next to me, but it was a good way to actually practice.
Yeah. As far as me, I got into the whole mecha anime and mecha video games like this primarily by going from the Western end of it and moving over to that as I was looking for more stuff. So I started out playing Mech Warrior and stuff like that. And then from there, I started looking into Battletech, looking into Heavy Gear, looking into other games that had this kind of style. And I start seeing images, like when I look up, searching, okay, Heavy Gear images. Okay, that I know. This I don't know. What's this? Oh, it's called a Wanzer. Deliberate mispronunciation there. And I start looking into this. Oh, there's a whole game series of this. Oh, this is awesome. And from there, I was just, like you said, emulation and stuff like that, to fan translations, all these things. And yeah, this has become probably one of, if not my favorite video game-based mech series and setting in general. Probably because it does absolutely everything I want from a mech setting. Like, the mechs are the right size for my particular taste. The world is the right kind of level of combination of just war and politics and all. Like, it's something like in the comment here before we got started, Mad Dog Matt said, it's the Death Frog series. This franchise is everything I love about Armor Trooper Votams with some bits and piece of Doogrum thrown in for good measure. Yeah, pretty much that. That is exactly the kind of thing that I love about this series. Plus, I get to play dress up with robots and send them to punch each other in the face with pile bunkers. That's not the love. So yeah.
Funny you mentioned Votams, because I got this during my last trip from Japan. It's a 1989 Votams art
Oh,
book.
sweet.
Ooh,
Nice.
And the illustrations are great.
That's
Killer.
beautiful.
Cheap.
That's awesome.
This
Very
is
cute.
my book version.
Oh, sweet. Wait, roleplay?
Yeah, the art
Role-playing game?
Saurian from the makers of Cyberpunk 2020.
Oh, I did not know about that.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, it's written by Tim Eldred, who's a big time comic book artist who's done a shit ton. He's actually done some Votom's comics and stuff like that.
It has a lot of good lore
it's
in
also
it
like
too.
a series guide / full RPG with all the concept art and illustrations like that.
Votams
that's really cool.
comics.
Yeah, I'll switch to send you a link to this guy's stuff. It's really he's been posting all his stuff onto his website, that everything he's ever worked on, which is pretty goddamn cool of him. I should really get him on the show one of these days. But yeah, it's really interesting. Like for instance, this guy here is probably responsible for a lot of Western audiences, knowing about Votoms way back in the day. When it comes to Front Mission, there really wasn't that much of an official or really unofficial way for a lot of people to know about it. So I guess the question then is, what the hell was Square Enix thinking? Because they had something they could have really publicized the shit out of, and they never really did. Like, what do you guys think is the reason why this series kind of got short-shifted worldwide?
I'm not entirely sure about the numbers, but from what I know, I think Front Mission 3 which was the first to be released in the West, also just happens to also not sell very well. So Square Enix probably thought there isn't a big enough audience in the West to warrant future. Actually, no, wait. 4 did came out. I think 3 and 4 did not do too well in the West. Like they didn't make Final Fantasy numbers, so they thought, yeah, we don't need to bother translating 5. And this was before this was before the age of all these of downloadable games and Steam. So it really was restricted to just pure numbers from games bought in stores, physical games bought in stores.
I suppose we can say one good thing about the remakes is that they are in that more widely distributed, so that gets more eyes on the series in general. Although you'd think, given that there would be a bit more effort on Squeenix's part to translate some of the, outside of the game materials and make those available as well. But I suppose that, physical stuff does tend to be a bit more costly in that regard.
Well, I do agree with... Sorry, Sean. I did want to just interject real quick. I do agree with Sean in the sense that, the fact that Front Mission 3 and 4 did not just do well, by their own merits, I do think had, a big effect.
Yeah. I mean, you're introducing the series to a whole new audience, and you're starting with number 3. Yeah, that's probably not necessarily going to, get you the most eyes on it, because how many people are willing to start a series from the middle?
Yeah. I'm also not entirely sure about about the Western audience's preference. I think turn-based strategy games in general were not that big as well in the West. So the PlayStation 2, the big games were like Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, God of War, all action games. Then you've got a slow paced tactics driven strategy game, turn-based, that when people think a Mac game, they think, oh, it's good, they're going to be piloting it in third person and shooting stuff. So I guess that may have contributed as well.
I wonder if actually an Front Mission action game at that time would not have actually been a good idea then.
Well, there was Armored Core that did well enough that they constantly got translations.
It's very, very strange because, going off of that same notion with the action games, it's I feel like Square Enix looked at the big picture and was like, okay, Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII did incredible numbers in the West when they released. So we can maybe try to sell an RPG in the West, but Front Mission is doing so good in Japan while doing so badly, so it's almost in the West where it's almost like this rift or disparity that I think it made them very nervous about what they wanted to sell and what chances they wanted to take.
Yeah. What about you, Slimer? Do you have any thoughts on this particular conundrum?
Well, the only thing I can really add is that I feel like the Square's made a little bit of a misstep in choosing the Wonder Swan to port Front Mission first as a portable game. I mean, just going back to yeah, but going back to like, let's take a look at Fire Emblem, for example. I think the first Western Fire Emblem we got was on the Game Boy Advance. And then, I mean, look at Fire Emblem now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Fire Emblem took off in the West because of that, Game Boy Advance release. And I feel like if Square had taken a chance and also had released the first Front Mission on the Game Boy Advance, I feel like it would have had, a chance to make a better foothold for itself in the West too. Because that's because portable consoles like that they're pretty perfect for strategy RPGs, because you can play them on the go. You can save your game, shut it off, pick it up later. You don't have to sit home at your TV and like invest time, like set aside time to play it. Like, you can just play it whenever.
Oh yeah,
that's
I feel
exactly
like,
why
like I said, I feel like,
oh,
sorry.
I think like that's exactly what I was thinking, because I immediately downloaded my game onto the Vita once I had the chance, and I just brought it everywhere and just played it every time I was on the bus.
Yeah,
that's how I played Alternative.
Yeah, you ended up playing it on the Vita.
Yeah, on the PSP.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's face it. Nowadays, my phone can actually run a PS2 games. So I've been when I was on vacation, I had Front Mission 4 just with the. I have one of those Bluetooth controllers, so I just put my phone there as a screen, just like play it like that. So obviously, yeah, if you had the original game on a handheld console that has already had market penetration like that, you'd probably have a much better chance of getting eyeballs on it. We've got Blind Alien Productions, guy who made the Frontiers Reach games that I've been streaming lately. Really good stuff. Only ever saw advertising for one on PS2, and I had no idea what I was looking at. So that marketing is also a big thing with regards to this stuff. I mean, yeah, they would have had better luck releasing strategy games on PC. That is also true. But yeah, I think that the lack of marketing oftentimes, because they actually had live action commercials for the original Front Mission games and from Gun Hazard and stuff like that. It's like, okay, you guys obviously want to put some marketing into this thing. You're just not necessarily willing to do it on our side of the pond. So yeah, that probably had a lot to do with getting people's eyeballs on it.
I mean, those videos are so weird because they were shot in Nevada.
Yeah. It's like,
they went to Nevada to do that?
Yeah, because they had like this companion booklet that was like the behind the scenes or making of, and like it literally says like, oh yeah, we're in like Tacoma, Nevada, and it's like, just whatever, guys.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really ironic that they filmed the commercial here in the West and then just did not advertise the game here, hardly at all.
And the worst part is there's been multiple times where they came close to doing actual official translations for their games, and for whatever reason just canceled them. There was an actual beta test for Front Mission Online in English that got scrapped. So,
damn it.
Yeah.
Damn shame.
Oh, speaking of Front Mission Online, Miles, what have you been up to lately?
Oh, well, I mean, so firstly, I've been making a I guess you could think of it as a utility to actually be able to look at the models and the textures that are in Front Mission Online. It works for the PC version of Front Mission Online, and I put my results on Reddit. People have been really enjoying it. And since that point, I've been working with another gentleman in the Front Mission Wiki or Front Mission Discord community, where he's trying to create a new launcher for Front Mission Online so that it could potentially be preserved or be emulated like other online games are. And I've been going about this pretty deeply. Front Mission Online has always been a game that really fascinated me ever since I first learned about it. But I think what bothers me the most about Front Mission Online is that my opinion about it is so cemented because I've known about it since I've played Front Mission 4. And so I've always been really frustrated that Square never took that chance with it. Especially because when you look at that time period, that's a time period like 2004, 2004 to 06, or 04 to 08 even, where you had games like World of Warcraft, you had like Star Wars Galaxies was still something people were playing, and MMOs were a thing that were popular at that time. So yeah, I don't get it with them.
It's I think it goes back already all the way to the very first game where the creators came to Square about creating this new IP, and it was like, oh, no robots. Like literally, I've read in interviews that they just didn't want to take a chance on a series with robots. It's like, guys, you're in Japan. You guys love this shit. But one of the things that I think is very interesting about, going back to the setting itself, beyond the games themselves, is that this is a setting that is one that is surprisingly more grounded in terms of its depiction of the world and depiction of the different factions within it, politics, societies and stuff like that. Beyond just the tech and everything like that, which is also fairly it's one of those interesting situations where you have near future speculative fiction, near future sci-fi, and it doesn't really go over the top very much. Like often you'll see in other series, as the series goes on, things just get more and more extreme, and you start going crazy at a certain point. But here things have stayed at a pretty base level, while also having, you can see the technological developments over time throughout the series, depending on where you are in the timeline.
I think it comes down to like Front Mission 5 is effectively modern warfare, but with robots. There's combined arms. They've got tanks, helicopters, although not often seen in the game. But there are also like you also do see infantry in the comics as well, in Dog Life and Dog Style. There's that specialist
Front Mission Alternative
Wanzer
has you shooting at infantry as well. Front Mission 3, you can actually jump out of your mech around, or get forced out of your mech.
And then like the cutscenes
not as good.
And then the cutscenes in 5 too also showed ground forces and infantry. Though even though you really didn't get to play use them on during missions and whatnot, they were still present. It was still like, hey, this is a part of warfare in this time. Like you said, the combined arms.
Yeah, the first cutscenes in Front Mission 5 show Walter Fang and his friends getting caught up in the middle of a battle. And which is how they end up with these scars of the war, as the thematic through line through there. And then later on, when he's in the military, you see him there as just dealing with an insurgency problem, and then the Wanzers come in, and you get to see the scale. They're huge without being too overly huge, and Glenn just fires his autocannon into the air, and you can see all the bad guys just holding their ears. Just I love that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, these things would be loud as hell.
Yep.
You also have like the fighting in Cambodia. You had like the Cambodian soldiers, and they were fighting against like that OCU Vietnam Eagle before like the USN like flies in and paradrops in. That's a scene I would like in Front Mission 5.
Yeah. Or there's the landing on Madeira Island in Front Mission 4. Like,
I love that scene. Yeah.
It's great. Like, when it comes to the cutscenes in these games, they do know what they're doing. Even in the like Front Mission 3, oftentimes the in-game cutscenes aren't quite obviously it's PS1 tech, but even then, you still get those the feeling of okay, yeah, this is an actual war with some tactics going on here. This isn't just this isn't all rule of cool kind of thing. People actually thought, okay, yeah, these things are cool. How would they actually work? And then how can you apply that in the context of a world that is ostensibly still ours, but has a bit of Ace Combat to it, in the sense that bear with me here. The whole, strange real thing where you have an other world that it looks and feels like ours, but has its own politics to it. That is Front Mission's world, but it's one that still has our world underneath it, like underlying it. Like you still have the old countries, and oftentimes those will, poke their heads out and break off, like, the Bangladesh Civil War and rebellion in Front Mission 2, Japan, having a coup d'etat happening, even breaking out from the OCU potentially in Front Mission 3, all that stuff. Venezuela. The USN sends troops into Venezuela and tries to take out the president of Venezuela in Front Mission 4. And I'm like looking at the news this year, and I'm like, I gotta replay Front Mission 4, don't I? It's like when a game from, what was it, 2000, 2005, 2007, I forget exactly when Front Mission 4 came out. When a game from there has some accurate predictions of what's going to happen in 2026, yeah, you got some good sci-fi right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still waiting on my giant robots, though, but, what are you going to do?
Yeah, we just need a Dr. Lambolt to invent an actuator, just like the book says.
Yeah. But yeah, and speaking of the books, I mean, that's another interesting thing that, briefly we touched on. Next Front Mission. Well, we'll get to that. But that's briefly that we touched on is how much of the story of this setting is not just in the games themselves, but in all the surrounding materials. Like, exactly, yeah. I mean, again, I'll break out, World Historica there. But not to mention you have the novelizations. You have the novelization of First, and 4 has a novelization as well. You have the various mangas. Yeah. You had like the manga of both of, Front Mission, first Front Mission had manga adaptations. Well, not adaptation, expansions on those. Not to mention a whole bunch of other stuff. It's very interesting to have both the lack of marketing in terms of like, just how much, got to us here, at least in my neck of the woods. And yet how much of this stuff that Square and the people at, G-Craft and, eventually Square Enix were pumping into this to really expand it into its own world, that I can see why they'd want to make, others do spin-offs in other genres, because it's a world that's ripe for it, because there's just so much to it when you think about it. Which brings us to, like something Blind Alien Productions made a comment there. Next Front Mission, real-time or turn-based. I mean, probably if they were to do another one, they should probably go turn-based. Just, get some good favor back from the community, obviously after 2 failures in real time. But honestly, I would play a real time Wanzer game in no time flat. Like, I don't know about you guys.
See, like, I wouldn't mind having, like, if Square finally made a new Front Mission, I wouldn't mind if they like totally aped like Valkyria Chronicles or Ring of Red, where the map part is turn-based, but the actual fighting is some level of real-time control. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And I think that would resonate with more people today.
Yeah, people, at least when it was still being developed, I know people were very, very much into dual gear, because it was basically delivering on that kind of idea, which Square just isn't even, they're just not really pushing like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, being very impressed by what I was seeing, and then it went nowhere. Which is unfortunate.
It's fun.
I mean, as much as I like Final Fantasy, I'm blaming Final Fantasy for kind of stepping on Front Mission's toes a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you've got an IP that's making money, you're probably going to put resources into that. It's kind of like how Armored Core died down during the PS4 era, and we got nothing but Souls-like games for the entire generation.
Yeah, I get what you're saying on that.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta go with what pays the bills. Let's face facts. And if you're a gigantic, megacorp, you pretty much gotta, go with what people want to buy. And well, for the most part, they wanted to buy Cloud Strife and pink-haired girl, fighting God, I guess. I mean, can't blame them. I mean, some of those games are actually pretty good. The other ones, like
yeah, FF10 was awesome back in the day, man. Oh no.
I mean, I stopped at FF6, so.
Oh, Final Fantasy X with like Titus and Yuna.
Oh, right, yeah. I think that was the only FF game I actually completed.
Like that one was just that. It was just that good. Something was really magical about that one.
Out of curiosity, have any of you been playing the mobile game Mecha?
Yeah. The whole gacha thing pisses me off because I'll get to a point in the story that I'm actually interested, and then it says you must increase your your license level
Your
in order to
energy
continue
or
the
whatever.
campaign. I'm like, God damn it! Although I did,
I was
yeah.
I was thinking it's kind of funny to play Mecha right now and then go back to the old trailers when it was still called Borderscape and see the Wanzers we are all familiar with, to see the Zeniths in there, for example.
I got one that I'm going to be building later on.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, sweet.
Is that?
We got it too.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the XR.
Nice.
I do want to acknowledge, since we're talking about that kind of stuff. Oh, wait, hold on. I do want to also acknowledge that, like, I mean, Front Mission has been a big deal too for me because since I've been working on Ferris with Lewis,
Yeah.
Ferris, yes.
Yes.
you know, I've been very excited to like revisit this series and use it as a source of inspiration.
Yeah. I mean, you and a lot of other people, like the people behind Creek's Front Tactics, are, they literally got the creator of Front Mission to give them their seal of approval. So,
Yeah,
they're very much into that too. And
yeah, that's one I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because like it brings a lot of stuff that I wish Front Mission had done, like the whole your unit facing matters and fog of war, stuff
Overwatch.
like that. Like
the psychological aspect that a long-term behind enemy lines deployment would have on people. Yeah, the whole you're on your own, you're exploring, and you have to survive on the resources that you have access to, at least from what I've been able to see from it. And plus, it just looks goddamn gorgeous.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that's one question. We have people who are kind of like taking on the inspiration of the turn-based games. What about for, like, say, for instance, the real-time strategy version? Do you think anybody would be interested in doing something like Front Mission Alternative?
it
would probably.
Yeah, no, you go ahead, Sean. Actually, because I want to think more about it.
If I were to draw parallels to real-time strategy, I would say it might be something along the line of, say, Dawn of War 2, which is a singular squad-based campaign. So you're not commanding an entire army. So like you probably have a squad of either two or three squads of Wanzers. You got a commander that can do a sergeant of each squad that can do something special. That's what I would imagine.
Yeah. Especially
at least for the turn-based genre.
Yeah. And especially, I think also one thing that would be good to bring back is the kind of, mission structure that it had, where depending on your success and failure at certain objectives, you would get completely different, like a different mission tree, so to speak, where, you succeeded at this one, not quite as well as you probably could have. So we're going to send you on mission B here next time. But if you did really, really well in this, we'll send you to mission C, and that has a completely different, set of consequences going forward and stuff like that. You had some of that, a bit of that in the other Front Mission games, where if you talk to the right people and stuff like that, they might reappear in later on missions. Maybe you get some help, maybe you get some additional Wanzer parts or stuff like that. But that was the one that really had that interesting kind of branching storyline to it, which is something that I think, well, more mission-based games like this probably could do. Like, going back to stuff like Wing Commander or things like that, where you had full branching narratives and multiple endings, where each mission is basically just, go here, blow this up, but with some wrinkles to it, which is always interesting.
I mean, it's definitely worth remembering. No, go ahead, Slimmer.
No, I was just gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, like some of the Armored Core games kind of had that, where like, oh, if you failed this mission, only these missions were available. But if you succeeded on this mission, then you could do these other missions because your success here allowed you to go and do these missions instead.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't quite as involved as what was just said.
Yeah, or you had like MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries, where each campaign within the larger, timeline, you would have branching missions depending on your success or failure like that. And some of them, like, you fucked up too badly on this one. okay, get back to the dropship or we're leaving you behind. That's your next mission, just escape. Or there was one where you're supposed to grab the Kodiak Clanner mech on behalf of the Draconis Combine for a while. And then your dropship your dropship pilot says, hey, if you want to keep this thing, I can arrange it so that we can get you out of here and, brush the comms. You just have to, kill your escorts. Which I did. So I ended up with a nice little Kodiak mech. Of course, somehow, the Draconis Combine was like, okay, we don't have any records of what just happened here exactly. Carry on. They have other things to worry about at that point. Yeah, it's something that can be done well with these kinds of games.
I was just going to point out that it's really interesting what you guys are all saying when I think about it, because Front Mission Alternative has such a lingering effect, I feel like, on the people that play it, because it's the only Front Mission game that is technically an investigation is principally what's going on. Mm-hmm. Rather than you just playing through level 1 through 25. And even when I think about Armored Core 1 and how that was a really big deal, that when you went into enough debt, you just died basically in that game, or there were certain missions you could fail in Armored Core 1 where if you failed them, it could unlock Human Plus stuff, which was a really unusual way to gain abilities. Mm-hmm. Where you'd have to restart your whole playthrough, but you might have gained the Human Plus ability where you don't have to kneel anymore to fire a shoulder weapon, for example, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that there aren't a lot of modern games that punish the player in that kind of way to be successful.
Not even Armored Core.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that's always great about classic Armored Core in that regard is that you can have Pyrrhic victories. Yeah, you succeeded at all your objectives, but you spent so much ammo and took so much damage that the repair costs have put you in the red anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The life of a machine gun user.
Yeah. The same thing goes for a Mech Warrior and stuff like that, where especially the mercenaries ones, where you won. You did it. You're now severely in debt because you have to fix up all your goddamn mechs. And you still, in case of Mech Warrior 2 mercenaries, you still have multiple missions to go on now. Only you don't have the means of repairing or rearming yourself because you used up all your ammo. Have fun. Which is one of the reasons why energy weapons are so good in that game. Oh, man. That's also something interesting about Front Mission is that there are very few sci-fi things. It's like I said when I was mentioning about how grounded it was. There are energy weapons, there are rail guns. There's Front Mission 3 has you can find guys with particle beams and stuff like that bypass all the armor resistances, which is always nasty. And you see a lot of certain things involve the space elevators have energy weapon defenses to point defense systems to deal with missiles and stuff like that. But you very, very rarely have anything other than ballistics and kinetics in terms of your weapons, which does give it a certain feel to it. At least I think so.
It's stuff that we're all familiar with in real life.
Yeah.
Just basically a submachine gun that Wanzer is equipped with is probably equivalent to an autocannon that you mount on one of those on a Bradley or something. Mm-hmm. It's just everything is just scaled up. It's basically like infantry but big.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's one of the things about mechs of this scale is that they combine the best aspects of the idea. The idea is that they combine the best aspects of infantry with armor without being, taking over completely in terms of their role of either one of them. A tank is still gonna blow the shit out of you if it manages to get you targeted. So, infantry, take cover.
And I'm pretty sure you all who played any Front Mission games would know that helicopters are the worst to deal with. They are the biggest threat.
Yeah, especially if you're playing one of those games that has a difference between regular fire and anti-air fire. I think Front Mission 2 had that. and a couple other ones where, yeah, you better hope you got some missileer Wanzers on your team, because otherwise this is gonna take a while.
They're just demons in Front Mission 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because they always have missiles, and they're.
Wouldn't you?
I mean, true. But I mean, still, it's just like you have these helicopters, and like they're super mobile. They can go anywhere on the map, and missiles hurt a lot, especially in early game.
Oh yeah.
So like you're just praying that like you can just make it through, or at least get to them before they can get to you. If you like, especially if you don't have anybody with missiles.
Yeah.
And then you have to worry about, can I actually hit them from the ground? So it leads to like if you don't have missiles, you're just kind of spraying and praying with machine guns.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you kind of wish they had kept some stuff from Mission Alternative, because there they had one of the bolt-on items was an anti-missile system, like a little CIWS Gatling gun for shooting down incoming missiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's also another interesting thing about this series, is how many elements, how they evolved mechanically from the first one to the fifth one over time. Like in Front Mission 2, you had the AP system introduced, but you're still having non artillery or missile weapons still being fired at point blank range, regardless of type.
Oh yes, you must be right next to the enemy, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's only Front Mission 3 they introduced weapon ranges for all weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you had Front Mission 3 also had the link system starting to starting up, which got formalized.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the network.
It was like a beginning of it, because it's way better in 5.
Oh yeah, in 5 they pretty much sorted that stuff out, and the way the combat skills developed and how they're implemented. It's an interesting kind of iterative process, and seeing what was kept and what wasn't between different games.
I did want to point one thing out, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
When you were saying the thing earlier, Bastian, about it being really like in the world and like in real life, or like set in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that was very much on purpose, because we do have to remember that like at the time when Front Mission was coming out, I mean, Front Mission is just straight up a contemporary to Gasaraki and like other like real robot anime that are coming out in the 90s, that I think were leaning more on mixing a mech and a supernatural element. And so I feel like Front Mission was trying to distinguish itself by saying, no, let's do mech, but like let's make it like just straight up real life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's straight up. I mean, there's definitely inspirations from like, that time period around, of course it's the early 2000s, so GWAT is just getting started. Before that, you had, Desert Storm and that particular era of warfare and all the different conflicts that are occurring around then, the Balkans and things like that. So there's definitely that kind of visual there's the visual inspiration in terms of like environments and how things work out and that, but there's also just in terms of the tone and in terms of the kind of warfare that you're dealing with there. Like, a lot of these events also, like the very first Front Mission, the Larkus incidents could basically be considered like an act of terrorism, well, a false flag in this case. So, and, going from there, it just bubbles up into this massive war that seems fairly prescient into how things, happen. And of course, things happening in terms of like Front Mission 4 and things like that, that kind of urban combat. It's very much a setting that takes its science fiction elements and blends them into not just contemporary war, but contemporary politics as well, which is something that's very interesting about the setting, is just how much of it is happening, how much stuff happens in gameplay because of the overall politics and, geopolitical conflicts in the world. Like, I mean, outside of Metal Gear, how many games get this political? Because the series it rivals Metal Gear in terms of just how much politics gets involved. In a good way, mind you.
I think, like it's like how we say, like Front Mission 4 is not just the it's just not just the robots. Obviously that plays a big part, but it's also how decisions on a much wider scale shape the story. It's just not like, oh, you got into a mech and blow shit up. It's more like you do this, and then as a result in the story, some precedent says, oh, labels you as terrorist. In fact, remember in Front Mission 4, Wagner was a Russian spy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then it turns out that the general was the German general was also a Russian spy as well. So they were just effectively pulling the strings. Yeah.
And the whole thing was based on Zaftra, formerly Russia, now the Republic of Zaftra, attempting to force a war between the European community and USA, and trying to get that so they can get better trade deals with the European community. The whole thing is just a ploy to try and increase their economic standing in the world after the events of Front Mission 1 caused them a massive backlash internationally on them. It's just like, okay, this whole thing's a big political ploy. It's von Clausewitz all the way through.
I'm gonna add something in the physical chat. Let me wait. Could I attach files? Let me see. Yeah, just for fun, because I found this funny. Wait, hold on. There we go.
Let's see here. Okay. Oh. Take a look at this. Oh. Ukrainian farmers tow away abandoned Russian tanks and missile launchers worth millions. Okay. Yeah, I'm showing this here.
The methane Wanzer and the Vizov.
Oh yeah. Okay. That is probably the thing. That is probably one of the things that everybody remembers from Front Mission 3, the methane Wanzers. Which, yeah, they're basically technicals. They're mechanicals. That's basically it. There are two ways you can do a mechanical in a game. One is the methane Wanzer method, where you take a truck and give it legs. The other is the EDF 6, Earth Defense Force 6 method, where you take a mech torso and stick it on the back of a Toyota Hilux. Which I am surprised that has not happened. That never happened in one of the games, where you just have a bunch of, because you could easily do it, because the way that Wanzers are, put together and assembled, just take the top half of them, bolt it onto the back of a big truck, and there you go. Mad Dog's asking, which game is the best Front Mission game, and why is it Front Mission 5? I don't know. Front Mission 4 is probably my favorite in terms of storyline, just in general. Mm-hmm. I like the characters, Elsa and Daryl, and their whole the dynamic of the two teams working independently, but eventually, crossing over into the same kind of, discovering the same problem there. Plus, I like the graphics. But yeah, Front Mission 5 probably is the grandest story of them all, because it covers the entire series. What do you guys think? Which ones are your favorite of the series?
Like, it's hard to say like which one is definitely my favorite, because I mean, you make good points about Front Mission 4's story being being interesting, and how you had these two unrelated parties eventually crossing paths and everything, but at the same time, all like the visual polish in Front Mission 5 and the combat animations and Wanzer's finally skating around on the map like I had hoped they would have been doing in 4 after seeing the opening cutscenes.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where like they're all good for their own reasons. So it's really hard for me to narrow it down to like which one's my favorite. I would probably have to say 5, only just because of just, like I said, the visual polish. Like it's fun to watch. It's like it's the most fun to watch out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Sean?
This is going to be a tough one. I will always have a very, very soft spot for 3, because that's the one I have played over and over and over and over again. Front Mission 4. Okay, Front Mission 4, the one thing I did not like about it was how drab the color scheme everything was, how monotone it was. Story was absolutely fantastic. I love that. I did not like the way they implemented the link system, where you have to assign links between pilots. Mm-hmm. And as you said, 5 fixed that. I would say it's either 3 or 5. one thing I did not like about 4 and 5 was the evasion mechanics. In 4, your evasion affected how many if affected the percentage, the accuracy of the enemy. So if you had a higher percent evasion, the enemy's accuracy is lower, as opposed to 4 and 5, where you jump out and evade the entire barrage entire barrage, which I found annoying. I did not like that much.
Yeah. What about you, Miles?
Yeah, especially combined with limited ammo.
Yeah, that limited ammo and dodgy enemies in a game where you can't manually aim to compensate. Yeah, that's gonna be a bit tough sometimes.
For me, like after I played the series, I felt like, similar to how like you, Sean, you feel about 3, I feel the same way about 4, where I'm just like, this is like how I got really introduced to the series. But if I was being very, very, very honest, Bastian, you mentioned earlier, well, actually, both of you were talking about this with the Front Mission remakes, is that the main reason that I didn't play any of the Front Mission remakes for the longest is because I think I personally really fell in love with Front Mission first on the DS. And so, it was something about the Yoshitaka Amano style. I'm like a diehard fan of his artwork. So like having like the Final Fantasy character artist, well, early Final Fantasy character artists combined with combined with just this like visual sprite masterpiece. I'm sorry, some of these backgrounds in that game could be art pieces that you could hang on walls.
When I did my review of Gun Hazard for the channel, one thing I mentioned was this game is gorgeous, like all the backgrounds. Like that bit in the desert, that desert level where you are jumping through the dunes and there's these Wanzer corpses impaled on rebar. And when you jump over the dunes, the setting sun just rises up, and the sky just like brightens for a moment before you duck down. And when the sun goes back in the background, goes below, then everything darkens a bit like that. Just beautiful. That's just like
Yeah, that was a very cool visual.
Yeah,
that. I mean, Freedom City and Front Mission 1 just kind of lives in my head rent free.
Yeah. I'll say this about the remake of 1 is that the way they went about it, they didn't try to unblockify the kind of the environments, stuff like that in game. So to me, when I first played it, it made me think of like a Gunpla diorama come to life in certain
I don't know. I was
ways.
thinking. I just kept on saying Minecraft with robots.
Yeah, I can see that happening too. Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah. I think probably that style, like it feels, having replayed it a bit and just going back to it, I think my initial impression might have been, colored by the fact that, hey, we're finally getting some more Front Mission stuff. So I might have been a bit overly optimistic in that regard, especially seeing what they ended up doing with, going forward with 3 is Front Mission 3 remake, especially, where I think this is something that going back to when I said when there's the sci-fi is built into the real world, you look at the designs they made for that, everything's way too shiny. There are like little lights on everything. Like, everything has like little glowy bits on it. And it's just like, guys, you're trying too hard. Just make it look like a actual truck or something that grew legs and can, punch you in the face. It doesn't need to look slick. Just keep it looking like, a rusted piece of shit and it'll look practically good. Maybe just, give it a good paint job, but a bit more on the less glossy side, because that's the problem. It makes everything look plasticky, and the animations didn't help either for that. Front Mission 2 remake, though, that one, I think of them, is probably the best looking. Because that one, at least, the textures, I know, it's a low bar, but in terms of the remakes... That one.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. I just have to add, since you're mentioning it, that Front Mission 2 remake, I actually was excited to play because I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I think Front Mission 2 looks terrible, like on the PS1. I don't know what it is about it. I like the game, but
it is. I think it is a little rough looking, and I think part of it's just how you shift from sprites on the overworld to PS1 3D models for the battles, and it feels a little disconnected almost.
Yeah, although Front Mission 3 also had sprites on the maps, and Switch did the same, just I guess did it better.
It looked 3 looked cleaner, even though it did the same thing. That, and it didn't have that just ungodly loading time between the map and the battle scene. So I think that made it a lot easier to deal with too.
Yeah.
No, I think I know though what I think I know what Slammer means though with Front Mission 2 I think I know what you mean when it comes to Front Mission 2 in particular, and it's that it's not that Front Mission 3's like sprites are the problem. It's that Front Mission 2 feels like it's trying to take the visual aesthetics of 1 and sprinkle 3D into it. And I don't know, I just don't like it. Like
3 did it better.
There you go. I mean, you could say that the second one was basically like their experiment on it, and they kind of did better with 3, obviously, there.
It's also the thing. I think number 2, what happens is it breaks the immersion. You're standing next. Let's say you're standing in a map. You zoom in and you're in a little arena, and they do the fight. 3 it transitions into the. It zooms in and it transitions into 3D, but the Wanzers are still in the map, interacting with the map, like there's line of sight being blocked, so it doesn't break away the immersion. It's not like Final Fantasy where you're in a dungeon, you face an enemy, and then boom, you go into a little arena, you fight, and it goes. You pop back out.
Yeah. Something that I noticed from when playing From Mission 3 on the PS1 version versus the remake, something that they didn't do in the remake, and they probably should, there was actually environmental damage. Like when you fired a missile and it landed somewhere, you would actually leave a little crater decal or something like that. It didn't have any actual in-game effects, but that was a nice little... It's the little things sometimes, like the animation quality, the, kind of textures. I think that's the reason why, even if it's still on the PS1, the PS1 version still, I think, is superior in terms of like just general game feel.
The Front Mission 3 animations on PS1 felt like they had weight. They felt machine-like, as opposed to just a robot could stand there and go.
Right.
The 2 worst parts of the remake are the fact that when they're walking, their shoulders go like this.
Right.
You see them bouncing, and they leave sparks and clouds of dust whenever every single step. It's like, guys, you're overdoing it again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's also
the
for
AI
me
shit that it happened, that the bad AI shit that they used for upscaling stuff and just making a hash.
It's also for me that like in between Front Mission 2 and 3, because I am also such a big fan of alternative. Like looking at alternative and looking at how good alternative looks, and then looking at like 2 and looking how bad it looks, and knowing they came out like a year apart, I don't know, like something about it just pisses me off when I look at it. Like I don't know what it is with Front Mission 2. I just get like frustrated in the weirdest way.
People who were waiting for something after Front Mission 5 and got Front Mission Evolve felt.
Okay, look, I was there. Look, I was excited to buy that game. I like that game. I'm probably gonna go hell for that. I don't know. Like,
it's not the worst thing.
I'll save you a seat, Miles.
Like I'm replaying it, too, after the video I did on it, and it's not gameplay wise. It's not the worst thing I've ever played. It's a competent MechAssault clone. But it's not a particularly good Front Mission game.
Look, I mean, I get I'm bad for saying that. Like, I still have dreams of some of the multiplayer matches I played in that game. Like, I'm sorry, like the multiplayer was that good.
I mean, it's the closest thing we ever got to Front Mission Online.
They wanted to appeal to Westerners, and when it came to the multiplayer, they cracked the code. Okay, I'm saying that as a Westerner, like just signed a Westerner.
I know life Evolve's PvP back, when it first came out.
Yes, bro. Oh my god. Like yes.
Let me tell you let me tell you a story now. Don't now take this with a grain of salt because I'm not actually sure how much truth there is. I met with a friend who claimed to have um, either worked on or interacted with people who worked on the Front Mission Evolve game, and from what I hear, the Western developer wanted to completely overhaul the design of the Wanzers. They wanted to make it more organic looking. Picture Bayformers aesthetics Wanzers. They wanted to make some
crazy because I could actually see a modicum of truth in that when you see like designs like the Onokuma that made it to the finished game.
Oh, that would have been horrible.
Yeah, just for everyone's frame of reference, when I say Onokuma, I'm basically saying, imagine a full game of Wanzers that look like, damn it, hold on, that look like this.
I don't hate that.
Yeah, I gotta say,
do.
if you were to come up with a fresh IP where the mechs all look kind of like that, I wouldn't have a problem with it. It's just not Front Mission.
Yeah,
I think that was the issue with Evolved and how people viewed it. It's just it's not Front Mission.
Yeah. Well, I will say
sorry,
this
Slammer.
about that, and I mentioned that in the video also, is that at least there, the animations there, they actually pulled that off at least compared to the remakes stuff like that. It's that, yeah, at least there they have weight and the textures don't feel super shiny and they had some elements, at least gameplay wise, in terms of the character models and the monster models that worked. It's the story that was really, really dumb in the level design.
Story writing, your typical.
It was.
I mean,
it was basically like a generic American action movie, but with Wanzers.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's basically what would happen if you got. Well, it's a Michael Bay mecha anime.
Front Mission by Michael Bay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
you can tell by the opening. The opening, they just randomly just came in and just shot everything up in the city.
Yeah,
that's exactly that.
Which I don't necessarily have a problem with, but it does look pretty damn cool. You gotta give them credit for that. They did manage to get that vibe right. But then you get the stories. The story is kind of the characters are very one note especially compared to the rest of Front Mission. Left Alive has a better story than Front Mission Evolved.
Yeah, I would agree with that generally.
Mm-hmm. Like,
but Left Alive,
I like Left Alive. I know it has severe, horrible problems, but I find that once you get to like chapter 5 or 6, 7, like that, once you get past the initial slump of you're very weak and you're very poor equipment, and you actually do get into something where if you have enough gear to actually be able to start having some options, and you're not playing on stupid difficulty, obviously, but that it is enjoyable as long as you're willing to meet it halfway and play it the way it wants to be played. If you're trying to play this like Metal Gear, you're gonna suffer. But if you're trying to play this like if you're planning to play this like Resident Evil with mechs, that can work.
Yeah, if you play it more like a survival sim, it's a lot more fun.
It's a survival horror game. Like Ruslan, the main villain, he's basically a tyrant. He's Nemesis. He's literally walking around with a minigun and stuff like that, and keeps coming back after you kill him a couple of times. And the final boss version is a giant version in the Wanzer that you have to use, high explosives to take out, just like Nemesis in Resident Evil 3. Yeah.
Right.
So really, Capcom should be doing the Front Mission games.
Yeah, now you mention it, like that last boss battle in Left Alive, it did feel like something you would be playing in Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, against the Svarog.
Yeah. Like, wasn't in the one that's in the swamp mansion thing, Resident Evil, what was it, Resident Evil 7?
7,
The one that was in first person there,
the one with the mold, right?
Yeah, I mean, the final boss, I think you actually do end up calling it like an airstrike or something like that on that one. I'm forgetting. I don't know. I never played that one.
It's been a minute
I never
since
got
I
to
played
finish it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it's one of those games that completely, I think almost accidentally misrepresented itself, and that was partially for one of the reasons, aside from technical issues, which it had plenty, but that's probably one of the reasons why it was, so despised by so many people. It's because they go in there expecting to play something that looks and feels like Metal Gear, because it's got some of the guys who worked on the damn thing, and it doesn't look and play. It doesn't play like it at all when you get down to it. So, and especially then again, you have a lengthy series of strategy games, beloved strategy games, and 2 games in a row you're getting action stuff. That is definitely not going to endear you to that particular hardcore crowd that you need if you want to get this game series back on its feet.
Yeah.
So I would say they are just like mid-action games. They're not like particularly special in any way.
Yeah.
They're fun, but they're not groundbreaking.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. Welcome back, Miles.
Hey,
Yeah. Mad Dog asked, who would be your favorite protagonist from the Front Mission series? Mine would be Walter Feng because of how much he reminds me of Chiriko Kyuvi from Votoms at times. I can see that. I like, well, I mentioned Front Mission 4. I like Elsa quite a bit. I like her attitude to things. I like her personality and just, her reactions to stuff. It feels, it feels like, a, proper trained soldier, but without being too stoic about everything. So it's a nice combination.
I'll go. I know I was talking about Front Mission 2. I mean, not liking the graphics of it, but frankly, the more and more I look back on the series, I feel like for me, it's a toss-up between Ash and Daryl, actually, for being my most favorite characters. I actually like that Ash is so reflective of the stuff he's done, and that he's actually struggling with it in a sense. It's not like how it is with Elsa in Front Mission 4. And so I like that Ash is a really complicated but committed soldier to what he's doing. And I find him very interesting.
Yeah. It's especially particular with him because he's fighting his own, countrymen for the most part in the game. Since, they're dealing with multiple civil wars in Allergist at that time.
It's so freaking layered in that game because it's he's on one hand he's fighting his countrymen, on the other hand he's carrying this really great shame that has to actually directly do with a conspiracy that's really significant in the lore. He's got conflict with going back to his hometown and even seeing if it's there since the war started. It's just all this conflicted feeling from this guy.
What about you, Sean?
It's a tough choice. I think one of the characters that at least it's not a main character, at least not the mainline character. Is the Chinese agent from Front Mission 3, Liu Liu, the dude with the ponytail and the aviator glasses.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Chinese Agent Smith.
He's
Liu Fei Hong, isn't it? Numbers, yeah.
Yeah, Hei Fong Liu. Say it backwards.
Yeah, I like that character where he's like the real numbers, then there's the imaginary numbers, and he sort of clashes with the imaginary numbers where he's looked down upon by Lukaf and the imaginary numbers, and he kind of questions himself because they are all artificial humans after all.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's that's such an interesting nuance of Front Mission 3 that I only really realized once I started reading Perfect Works and other stuff surrounding it. In that, I mean, you have this conflict in Front Mission 3 that's going on right in front of you, where you've got the real numbers who are all these mercenaries, these people who've been recruited and who have like real experience, like in the field as agents for different super conglomerates. And then you've got the imaginary numbers who are completely artificial, completely trained, not trained, programmed. And like, this weird disdain between experience and virtual experience.
And also,
it's really crazy.
Chinese Wanzer, the Shangdi is one of my favorite. Is actually one of my favorite in aesthetics. I love the Shangdi.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Yeah, I think it comes back and evolved actually. At least some future version of it is one that one of the bosses / allies that you had encountered in that game is using.
I think it was the Kihei or the Kohei from Front Mission 3. Yeah, like they made it. Yeah, they made like a smaller version of it in Evolved. I love that Wanzer, like both versions of it.
Yeah. What about you, Slammer? Which particular characters holds your fancy?
I'm trying to think. I'd probably say Daryl from Front Mission 4, especially with the way that like Schaefer and Renjas play off of him and he plays off of them. Like their whole thing felt kind of like a road trip, but with Wanzers.
Yeah.
And just the way those three interact, like it really made their side of the story like really fun for me to sit through in Front Mission 4. And in a way, I kind of relate to Daryl. Like he's really just like he's trying to be chill, he's trying to be laid back, but like things keep happening
to him,
and he's just got to grin and bear it and get through it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm trying to get this gold out of the country. Why does everybody keep trying to stop me from doing this? Jesus Christ, this is getting complicated.
He's also the one that goes through
one thing after another.
Yeah.
He's also the one that goes through a strong character arc because he starts off with selfish intentions to steal the gold, and at the end, he makes friends with the resistance, and he ends up being invested in their cause. So,
which in turn
helps
save the world from one major a few possible major conflict in that regard with the whole Zafra thing happening. Yep. And as I recall from what I've seen of the novel, he and Elsa end up getting married by in the future, so that's good on him. He gets his own French waifu.
I think she like retires after the 4th game, but he doesn't.
Yeah. Some people just got it in their blood,
Yeah, quite literally. Because I remember that from the novel that like Elsa's whole thing is like she tried to join Durandal to fight Les, and well,
we saw how that turned out.
So she just retires.
How many missions does she end up going in? Okay, quite a few. Yeah, she gets quite a bit more combat experience by the end of the game. Oh man. Yeah.
So she's like, maybe I should just like quit and I won't have to fight anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Yeah. And then of course you get Walter Fang, who goes through the whole career, and by the end of the game he's an old man with laying flowers on his wife's grave while his daughter tells him that she's joining up the military as qualifies as a Wanzer pilot. So the cycle continues from there.
I've always had a joke about Walter where I've just been like, Front Mission's Tom Cruise.
I can see that. Although, yeah, he does have a bit of that, he's got a bit of the Chirico in terms of attitude, but he's definitely got his own thing going because he is very much like, how should I put this? He's in this, invested in the, conflict and everything like that, but he's also, a lot of it is just like, being there for his friends and trying to stop, what's happened to his friend Glenn from happening to anybody else and try to fix it somehow. Because he still feels connected to him in spite of everything, in spite of like this weirdo, taking over his brain, over his neural interface. God damn it. If there's a reason why more people should probably abstain from getting into the whole Neuralink thing when that comes on, until it's, not built straight into your skull.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Brain hacking is probably one of them.
This is a diorama I'm working on since you like Walter so much.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
Let's see that.
Speaking of Glenn, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the first mechs I've got there is the Glenn's Zenith from the Structure Arts from the Structure Arts collection. Damn good stuff. Oh yeah, that looks cool. I think I'm just gonna.
Speaking of Structure Arts, I really wish they would release more Front Mission 3 Wanzers. Like, I want the DHZ Wanzers. I want the police Wanzer.
Yeah.
I want a methane Wanzer.
Yeah.
Well, methane Wanzer, you talk to this guy. He's got you covered.
You can download. I made the methane. I made a methane Wanzer. You can download the STLs for free.
Well, I don't have a 3D printer at the moment, but I will keep that in mind when I get my hands on one.
Yeah, I might get one.
But yep, free STL. If you got a printer, have fun.
There, yeah.
Cool.
I've been having fun. Yeah, look at this cute little guy. Look at him.
That does look really nice, though.
Indonesia.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I should probably show off the Doberman I've got here, too. Seeing as how mentioned eyes in front. This is what Sean's been up to. As you can see.
Yeah.
That looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean's models are really, really cool. I've been following his work for a while.
But you flatter me, thanks.
Oh no, like I'm just such a big mech fan. I mean, that's like how I met Lewis. Actually, is that I just saw his work with Strike Suit Nimbus back in the day. Or I'm not saying that right, but you know what game Project Nimbus.
Yeah.
And I just reached out to him and told him like, my college group I made of like gaming people, we all loved your work. So that's how Ferris even started. It's a wonderful story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in terms
A
of
few years ago, I was able to.
Sorry.
I think a few years ago, when I went to Bangkok, I was fortunate enough to meet him in person. Nice guy.
Nice.
Yeah, Sean, that's cool. Man, I look forward to meeting Lewis one day.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like, for instance, like the physical modeling world, the aesthetic, if not, direct inspiration, but the aesthetic of Front Mission has had a pretty big impact in terms of like, what people are doing in terms of like, models or artwork and stuff like that. It's Sean here, Lewis, as you mentioned, the Mech Bay guys are, very, very inspired by this kind of style too. There's something about this kind of variation on the whole real robot thing where it's very much designed from the ground up to be not just modular in terms of like, how things are put together, but having that certain kind of very, very grounded and realistic style to it that does have a very, very big appeal, I think, at least in terms of like, just in terms of what the reaction I see people having whenever something like this shows up.
You also have to keep in mind that many of us are doing these front mission like we are desperate for another front mission game, and since Square Enix isn't actually doing anything with it, we're like, fine, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kriegsfront guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Eisenfront is literally me trying to make a front mission tabletop war game. Kriegsfront Tactics as well. They are also we're all front mission fans. And since Square Enix don't want to do anything with it, and they decided to take away the IP from Blackjack and end up being Makarashi, we are still desperate for another front mission, another proper entry to the line.
That was really actually disappointing, not just because it's a gacha game and it comes with all the caveats and problems that like, okay, great, I'm just finally meeting this new character here. I've already had her in my party for the last 3 to 5 missions because I pulled her on one of the draws, and it's just like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I'll go with it. But yeah, because the graphics, the animations, all the stuff from Makarashi looks really goddamn good. And
They
then you have a
went all in
crossover
for
with
that.
Evangelion, and things get weird.
Oh, wait till you see Ryujin Maru's Wataru. It's gonna get even weirder.
Yeah. Yeah, crossovers like this always tend to get really fucking weird. I mean, don't get me started on Magic the Gathering having Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in there now.
Yeah, Warhammer as well, from what I hear.
It's like, what are you doing? You had something going. Why do you do? It's the whole dilution of things, I guess.
It's the whole multiverse bullcrap that people are going over. This is going to be the biggest crossover since Endgame.
Oh boy.
I feel like they're leaning too hard on like the crossovers and the multiverse type stuff, when it's just like, you should do more of your own thing. But if you like something, like, you can still pay homage to it. But like, all these different crossovers, it's getting excessive, if you ask me.
Yeah. At a certain point, the whole multiverse thing starts becoming an excuse rather than an enhancement to your storytelling. You're just like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But, luckily I don't play Magic, so I don't have to worry about that now, don't I? Yeah, I got plenty. Oh, God, I got more. There are more games out there for me to play than I know what to do with, frankly, so I'm pretty much good in that regard. Yeah. If there's one thing that I would love to see, like we said, that we've seen people, taking on the mantle of either in tabletop or, digitally with Kriegsfront for this, for the turn-based stuff. I want to see another Gun Hazard. I want, because technically you don't have to put too many resources in terms of graphics to make a good side-scrolling mech action game. You can just do it the same way that they did back then, with just the sprite sheets and everything like that. But what made Gun Hazard very special in my eyes, it's an RPG. Like, literally in terms of, like, stat building, customization, the way that you increase in capabilities as you play. In fact, you use a certain weapon for a certain amount of time, it starts getting better, you start getting better at it, buying upgrades for things. But also in terms of, like, the story, how it expanded and how it went about things, where you had these expansive maps with connected missions that you went on with characters and dialogue and stuff like that, where you could bring characters with you on missions, which was always kind of fun, for that. Although it would be nice to have them level up at least a little bit when you're not using them, just because that way you don't end up with a really underpowered guy who's keeps getting blown up before he can complete his job. Thanks a lot, Lewin. I'm not bitter. But
I would definitely suggest checking out Exocav if you're like into a series that's going to go in that direction.
Ooh, Exocav.
Exocav? EXOCAV?
Yep. It's by my friend Paladin Dragoon. He's been
familiar,
pulling together a bit of a comic, and I would definitely say check it out, because that's like a direction I know he wants to go in.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that if he does, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm looking at show off some of the artwork here.
I know Lewis designed his mechs too, actually.
Yeah, let me just...
Fun trivia.
All right, bring it up here.
Some of them, at least.
That's
Maybe not all of them.
right there. Yeah, those are some good-looking mechs. Yeah. But also, it'd be interesting to see a follow-up in terms of, that particular branch off the front mission tree, so to speak. Because it's interesting, because it kind of goes in the opposite direction that front mission does. Where in front mission you have it's kind of like a globalization, the next step in terms of globalization, where you have these massive supranational entities. And ultimately, like the divisions and formations between those are what causes the, conflicts that really result in the plot. You have, for instance, Morgan Bernhardt and Grimnir trying to break them up into Westphalian nation states. in Front Mission 5. In Front Mission Evolved, it's an attempt to create a singular enemy, force everybody to unite into a single supranational state, a single world, one world kind of, world without borders
Sure.
by, tricking them all into joining forces against this common enemy. Or just, blowing the shit out of their major cities if they refuse anyway. But in Gun Hazard, you get the feeling, because the countries that you encounter in real life are more like provinces or states within countries. Bergen is part of Switzerland, for instance. Bergen is part of Norway. Sentrich is part of Switzerland. And, so on and so forth. So you get the feeling that the world in Gun Hazard is more balkanized than ours is, versus in the regular Front Mission universe, where it's far more, unified. But you also have a singular invisible hand running, trying to bring everything together and control things from the background, which you defeat in the first game. So what happens to that world afterwards, when there's no longer the Illuminati or something trying to keep things under control? I mean, what happens from that point? What breaks out then?
Do you guys mind if I riff on this a little bit? Because I've actually I was writing about this not too long ago, actually.
Riff.
In which the way that, because I don't disagree at all, the way that I would put it is, it's like the mainline timeline is you seeing what happens to a world that comes together and forms the super conglomerates, whereas with Gun Hazard, you're seeing a world that instead rejects that notion. And it's like you get some hints of that in the mainline timeline. Like, for example, one of the greatest trivia pieces of the EC is that Sweden is not part of the EC, even though in real life it is a member of the EU.
Mm.
And you're just watching this world that sticks with nationalism, sticks with these old world ideas, and becomes obsessed with controlling energy more than anything else. That it's very fascinating to compare them in parallel to each other, because by comparison with the mainline timeline, it's almost like the politics we are experiencing today happen, but they happen because of the formation of Huffman Island, because of the formation of a completely unoccupied piece of land existing in the world that has this wellspring of natural resources, this wellspring of just kind of being hidden and off the grid. Yeah. That that creates and motivates these countries to almost lose their minds, but they lose their minds in the way of becoming super conglomerates. Whereas in Gun Hazard, no, they just straight up stick to nationalism into the present day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To the point of, like I mentioned, breaking up even further. And as you mentioned, the energy, the whole Atlas space elevator was originally going to be a infinite source of energy for the planet. And then as they were finishing it up, we came up with fusion and portable fusion reactors instead. All right, don't need that anymore. So let's just, focus on that. And now every country has its own, safe and efficient fusion reactors. So they don't have to work together anymore to, have this.
And that's what makes
project.
it so fascinating to me, that is basically both what you can almost see society's name as representing, and also what society's leadership laments the most, is that humanity did not conglomerate or stay together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which
is a total twist on Grimnir.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, which is ironic because Gun Hazard came out in 1997, pretty much. Yeah, which ultimately leads to the creation of this society, which is based from the people who were the bankrollers and creators of the Atlas space elevator, who were like, okay, if you guys won't unify by yourselves, we're gonna force you to behind the scenes. And but when you get to the final boss, he's completely nihilistic. Even they have lost faith in their own mission and are now just doing this because it's what they do, and because they just like the idea of lording it over everybody else, even if they don't really believe in their original ideals any longer.
That humanity is not going to change, But because they're not going to change, them doing what they're doing, it just doesn't matter anymore from a moral, ethical perspective to him.
Yeah.
Just playing the game.
Yeah. This is in a side scroller on the Super Famicom in the early 90s, for crying out loud.
Groundbreaking stuff, man.
Mm. Yeah. Like, for you guys, what was your favorite Front Mission in terms of like the story for you guys? Because one thing this series is definitely known for, Evolve notwithstanding, is definitely some stories with some actual depth to them in terms of characters and politics and themes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Hell of a question, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving that some thought too right now.
I actually would say personally, I would actually say maybe 4 itself because of how real it feels.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that happens in 4 could very well happen in real life, but in 3 it's still kind of mystical in the sense of like artificial humans and like the Midas bomb. But 4, everything is just so like I could see that, as you said, invasion of Venezuela is something that ended up being it ended up happening to some extent. So like I think I would actually go with 4 in terms of story.
Parallels between conflict between the EC and Zaftra, the EU and Russia at the moment, with Ukraine stuck in the middle.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely in terms of like feeling practically ripped from the headlines. That one, Front Mission 4 has definitely got some stuff going for it right there.
Not to mention, and like 4, it was also related to, like you mentioned, it's also related to like Russia trying to get people to buy energy back from them, wasn't it? And right now, even though Russia and Ukraine are locked in, like the European Union's trying to tell Germany to like ration their energy just in case Russia decides to cut them off. So it becomes kind of complex where the EU are still buying power from Russia, but they know that they can't really condemn them because they're so locked with one
kind
another.
of regretting turning off all those nuclear power plants, aren't you, Germany?
Right.
Glow green or go home is what I say. Either that or invest in your hydroelectric like Quebec does. I mean, we export energy to the rest of the world at that point, so we're good in there. Yeah. What about you, Slammer?
I'd probably have to go with 4 as well. Just because of the scale of the story. Like, I mean, outside, other than what Sean said, which he said a lot of the similar sentiments that I have. It's just the fact that like by the end of it, like the world is on the brink of a world war because of the results of Zaftra's false flag, trying to set themselves up to get better energy deals, have more people buying from them to prop up their economy. And that, with the 2 different storylines combining, it felt like the most ambitious story of the mainline titles.
Yeah.
So I would have to say that 4 was also my favorite Front Mission story.
And you, Miles, what do you have any thoughts on that?
The reason why I feel like it's so hard for me to say personally is because I totally agree with Slammer and Sean on this when it comes to 4, but for me, I would almost say a toss-up between Alternative, 2089, or 4. I would also give an honorable mention to 2 for the same reason. as what was being mentioned. So to unpack it a little bit, the reason why I think Front Mission 2's story is so good is because when you do actually get the full depth of it and you can truly like appreciate it as a storyline, they went to great lengths to be talking about what it's like to live through a revolution in a country. And they very much make the revolution very well justified if you actually read the lore. But the fact they went to all these lengths to communicate that, like, it's not just the fact that these guys are going through a recession. It's the fact that Bangladesh, for basically all of its history since the 1970s in the Front Mission universe, has been relying on the super conglomerates basically giving it charity. And once they finally are forced to join the OCU, they suddenly feel like, why did you guys even bring us into this if the only thing you're going to use us for was to make weapons for war? And so it's interesting how Front Mission 2 goes to all these lengths and to all this depth to make it where you see that this is political, this is ideological, there's like cultural differences between these peoples at a certain level. There's like a colonizer and the colonized thing going on with the OCU and Alderesh. And I thought that was really beautiful, especially when I saw like how well they committed to the EC plot in Front Mission 4. But then when I played Front Mission Alternative, I really like the fact that when you do play Alternative doesn't have like all of the same features as Front Mission 3 where you can go on the network and stuff like that. But it turns it into this singular experience where some of the cutscenes you're watching are like news reports, or they are like reporters literally recording what's going on during the conflict. You have like newspaper articles that get interspersed that are talking about what you're doing in the country. And then every once in a while, you do actually meet the merchant who has like completely unique dialogue based on how well you're doing in the game. And that's made me play that game over and over and over again, that it's almost like you're watching a documentary. And this is like Front Mission as a documentary, especially because WAW aren't used for combat anymore by the mainline games. And as for 2089, I would say I like 2089 because I feel like 2089 really bridges just the depth of the crimes that Cicada Industries commits.
Oh boy, yeah.
But then also shows why it was so significant that Frederick, as an independent journalist, was the one to break the story. Because, yeah, Rachel's fate as a Daily Canberra news reporter, yeah, RIP.
Yeah.
God.
The fact that he managed to actually, pull it off and live and show up in future games as well. Kudos on him right there. Yeah. Well, let's face it. Trying to, expose the truth in this universe when you've got megacorps who will literally pull brains out of people's skulls to make CPUs for their war machines. Yeah, you're not dealing with nice people here. At all. Not to mention all the shit you see the show weird fucked up side stuff that you see happening in like Dog Life Dog Style, like Shin this whole situation where great, he's a great Wanzer pilot. Mentally he's an 8-year-old because of what they did to his brain. Yeah, have fun with that. The particular concept. Just like, oh boy.
Hell, even in like the Drive, I liked how they kind of twisted that concept and flipped it on its head, because for most of the Drive, Tornado from 2089 and 2089 2 like joins this squad, and he's like grateful, thinking, oh, I got rescued by them from this Clinton or whatever. And you go further and further into the story only to learn that like, oh, the captain of this unit told me that like we were supposed to retake this barracks in the forest. And it's like, no, the captain of the unit wanted to rob the villa. He just never told you that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Kind of feels like Chirico at the first episode where he's like, he's on this mission with this whole new squad, and wait, what's the mission? You won't tell me. Okay. What are you guys doing? Why are you pointing your guns at me? Oh crap. Yeah, well, I mean, this goes back to Front Mission as a series, just the title. It's, you're on the front lines, you're out of your mission, and the mission is a front. There's always something happening in the background. There's always some kind of conspiracy or doublehead or, hidden operation or, hidden motivation to everything. Whether it's, the stuff the EC gets up to in Front Mission Alternative, the imaginary numbers plots, and, behind the coup d'etat in Front Mission 3, the Intergen stuff with Fenrir in Front Mission 2, the Cicada Industry stuff in Front Mission 1, the Zaftra stuff in Front Mission 4, even, going forward into Left Alive, all the stuff that happens in the background, the reason why the war between Garmonian and Ruthenia is happening is because Zaftra actually got some tech from the Republic of Ravnui, where the imaginary numbers are from. That's probably not a coincidence, which is now allowing them to come back because they're using, this is actually pretty contemporary, a form of predictive artificial intelligence that is allowing them to, basically they're governing themselves like, if ever you guys have ever watched Person of Interest, which is a kick-ass TV show, the whole Samaritan arc where some PMC manages to get their hands on one of these kinds of predictive AI systems, but it's an open system, so it's completely unrestricted. And instead of trying to use it to control the world, they decide to take their cues from it and let it tell them what to do, which is its own kind of fucked up thing right there. This is the same kind of thing with the M3 system.
Even frankly, it's funny because we've talked about Front Mission 4 so much, but it's like, hell, even the down low and dirty shit that the EC got up to in Africa when it didn't have the VACV's resource station in Poland, and the fact that it was willing straight up to trust a special forces unit with maintaining military contracts first in North Africa and then supporting insurgent movements as long as they paid them in natural resources. Shit's crazy.
Remove the Wanzers from that, the mechs from that scenario. You could be reading that in the New York Times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing about Front Mission as a series and as a setting that really, really speaks to me is like, it's Tom Clancy with mechs.
Try to imagine if it gets so absurd where it's like deploying mechs to protect the reflecting pool.
I mean, if we had them, you better bet your ass they'd be on display in Washington DC.
And that's the big conspiracy of the day.
Like, regardless of whichever party's in charge, you would have mechs decked out in red, white, and blue around, parading around Washington DC.
Insurgent went in with a WAW to cut the lining in the pool. So now it's like WAP to protect it.
I am reminded that I need to watch that new Pat Labor series.
Oh yeah, Easy's good.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, that's another thing that another contemporary of Front Mission from back in the day that I think Front Mission does have a lot of things in common with. The idea that you have the Labors and the Wanderwagen were pretty much the same kind of thing in the sense of, utilitarian, grounded mechs operate. Okay, Pat Labor can be kind of funny, pretty silly at times too. I mean, a lot of people forget that, the Mamoru Oshii movies aren't the whole thing, and they have some, it's actually a very comedic series. But it's that same kind of level of like, yeah, they're grounded. The Pat Labors actually have revolvers that you have to manually reload.
Yes.
Hilarious. Like, imagine a cop reloading their gun with this huge tank shell. Love it. It's those concepts.
It's also, I think it's like a revolver and not like a handgun. With a magazine is a revolver.
Yeah.
because
Which-
that's what the Japanese police were equipped with, those little snub-nosed revolvers at the time.
Plus, you got to think
I'm
the
gonna-
Griffin, that big black labor, the
Yep.
Griffin in the Pat labor, the Raven in
Yep.
Front Mission. I'm thinking
Mm.
there was some inspiration there somewhere.
Right.
Yeah,
Possibly.
yeah.
I was gonna say two things. I was first gonna say no, I loved the little Pot Wanzer joke they made in the Front Mission 3 Perfect Works book.
Mhm.
And no, I'm glad you actually saw that, Bastian,
Yeah.
because yeah, no, that thing is glorious. But then no, to what Sean is saying, no, damn it, I can't find it, but oh yeah, I did. It's like I always laugh at how in Pat Liber it's like, yeah, all this stuff is like handgun sized, and it's like even the SMGs
Yeah.
are
Nice.
like look how tiny this SMG is though. Like
Yeah, tiny
there's
in terms of like 20 millimeter.
Yep.
like there's this picture I know that's from one of the art books of them like dual handing it, and it's just so hilarious.
Oh man. Yeah. I think there really aren't any other settings like this in gaming where it combines that kind of near future sci-fi that doesn't get too sci-fi, so to speak, along with mech combat, along with the kind of politics we're dealing with, the kind of very grounded, realistic political stuff, along with that also kind of ties back into the real world, into the past, to actual history and stuff like that. And that's described in such a way that it feels completely natural. It doesn't. This isn't the kind of thing where the games have their own idea of what the right thing to do is, and what like every kind of story is going to have its own ideas of what the right thing to do is, but it's gray. There's a lot of it's not black and white in most cases. You are going to have your absolute monsters, and some people are just genuinely on the side of angels. But for the most part, it's just a big mess that you have to kind of think your way through. And even if you win, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a particularly happy ending for everybody.
It's all shades of gray. Hey.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
as I recall, on the network in Front Mission 3, they mentioned that the result of the Allerdish coup is like, yeah, they're independent, but their country's in a shit state. In spite of that, yeah, they got their independence, but at what cost?
Yeah, they get like limited on autonomy on top of that, because there's like an article saying Ramistan base is still in use by the OCU in the country.
Yeah. Man, it's like, imagine like, oh man, like imagine if Left Alive had actually been like Metal Gear, but without guys covered in bees and shit like that. Yeah. Getting the 6% for reading Dog Days. Yeah, something. Yeah, because that's another thing. Like so much of this setting and so much of it is outside of the games, and none of it has been officially translated for the most part. Like you mentioned, the Drive, outside of fan translations, I haven't seen that anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. Same thing goes for like the ASI Comics Front Mission 1 stuff and all that stuff. And that one's really cool because it has all this descriptive stuff, not only of the background, but also how Wanzers work, and examples of how they're designed and everything, which is great for a tech head like me. I mean, let's face it, I live for that shit.
The first two entries of it are just about WAW and WAPs.
Yeah.
And then, the rest of it is stories. I mean, what's a little bit weird to me about reading them, like having read that manga now and having read Dog Life and Dog Style, is that Dog Life and Dog Style is actually more committed to the canon than that manga is. And that's just a weird statement to say.
And also, Dog Life and Dog Style kind of explore like I would actually argue it kind of gets super edgy in some of his writing, but when you think about it, like
ways, because it's edgy without being like, oh come on, edgy.
I mean, at first when I first read it, I felt like I was a bit, oh, come on. And then you kind of see the Israel and Gaza and goes, okay, I'm starting to think this is believable now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
You get people hating each other enough, they're willing to do some pretty horrific stuff to each other.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's also because like something I think Dog Life and Dog Style reflects better than like any of the games is that even though it is edgy, that edginess is actually very, very, very much canon to the USN of that time period.
Mm.
Where it's like 80, like they had a poll basically in the USN. It's an article that's mentioned in various front mission media where they were like, oh, do you guys support, like, does the US population support the idea of like militarily like removing every OCU person off of the island? And that shit got like a 90% approval rating, and that's right before the first or second war starts.
Right.
So yeah, the brutal nature of the USN in that manga is actually very accurate to the lore at that time.
Yeah, I just got a whole Free Huffman Island, imagining in my head, and it's just like, oh, that could go really, really bad. Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, it's like what you guys were saying before about realism in the story, and it's like, even though the reality of like an island coming out of the sea is not very realistic, to have a US with that kind of zeal towards the rest of the world, where it even leaves the United Nations over Huffman Island, is pretty realistic. I mean, you can see that with anything we're going through today.
Yeah. But also, yeah, a US that has already taken the rest of the, Americas. Like the
Yeah.
USN ostensibly is, while it is, US dominated, I guess, in terms of its overall culture, you have to wonder how much of a change that was in terms of like how much attitudes have percolated between different countries like that. Like it started out as a version of the different economic partnerships between Canada, U.S., and Mexico, and then expanded to absorbing the entire Northern and South American continent. Like, what does that do to your attitudes towards just geopolitics in general when you've already absorbed an entire landmass like that? What's another island?
It also doesn't get mentioned often enough, but it was also formed as a reaction because basically the US started to feel like, well, hold up, in 2005, you've got the European Union becoming the EC. And then now in like 2016, you've got this thing called the OCU forming. And like in the Front Mission World Historica, they do talk about, there's a story in it where they talk about the fact that like the US and Australia literally had like beef with each other, like serious beef, where like the US Navy was seizing like Australian shipping, which made them join the OCU. But then the USN freaks out at the idea of the OCU forming. And then once like you have ZAFTRA form after the OCU, they're just like, all right, F this. We're like North, South, Central. We've got this on lock. It's us against the world.
And from there you go. And then, of course, ZAFTRA manages to worm its way in as well. And, because by the time the second Huffman conflict and the stuff that happens in Front Mission, the original Front Mission, the thing that happens is that ZAFTRA's already got its tendrils into, Sakata Industries and the OCU and various members of the military intelligence there, which, were the people who are, getting the what do they call it? Material recruits who are going to have their
material
brains
candidates
carved out.
Yeah.
For their, B devices. But they've also got, as we've seen from, Dog Like Style and stuff like that, they've also got their tendrils into the USN as well. Huffman Island isn't a war between necessarily two opposed nations. It's a war between two puppets of a wider organization. And the whole island, the whole war is a test bed for, military technology and awful, unethical science. Like I said, the mission is a front.
Yeah, I mean, everything from cybernetic enhancements to computers to like, yeah, Wanzers and like vehicles even, I know to a certain degree. Yeah, it's just Cicada Industries playground basically, and Zaftra's even more so.
Yeah, under the peace mediation organization, which is a lovely little euphemism for their particular brand of fuckery.
I mean, even that storyline is like kind of crazy when I guess when you finally grow up and realize it.
Yeah, like Matt says here, it's like the people who made Front Mission saw the writing on the wall. Only thing missing is badass battle mechs.
Yeah,
Mm.
right.
Yeah. Uh. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
want.
you could say like
Yeah.
you could say like how the Ukraine Russian war is also right now being a test bed for all sorts of new
Yeah.
technologies.
Mhm.
Except the prevailing thing right now is drone warfare.
Mhm.
So could you imagine Wanzers with cope cages? Those like just cope
Like
cages all over the monsters.
Uh,
Like I found that really interesting about both the Garmonian and Ruthenian armies in Left Alive, that they've got like a segment of their militaries that are just drones.
mhm.
But yeah,
Mm.
I felt like they could have gone crazier with it. I agree.
Yeah. Well, they also have to make it, fun to play again. So as we've seen from war footage, being an infantryman dealing with suicide drones is not fun in the slightest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it goes without saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh, man. Like I was in briefly the Canadian Army, and I am glad I am not didn't get deployed in their shoes because holy crap! Like yeah, on
Hell, even
either
Left
side of
Alive
that
is
this
just
particular
attacking that
conflict.
directly.
Yeah, and of course this is all just going into the usual thing. This is just a temporary thing too, because at some point countermeasures get developed for these things. Right now there's having the drone stuff is getting spread out afterwards because thanks to the stuff happening with Iran and their particular reaction to where they start bombing everybody for for crazy reasons. The neighboring states there have been importing drones and drone experts from Ukraine to build up their own arsenals in those regards. Plus, have the European Union rearming quite a bit to deal with the Russian situation as well. So, yeah, things are getting interesting in the world to say the least. Yeah. So where the hell are my mechs? Like, at least if we're going to be staring down the barrel of World War III, at least make it fun.
Like, I mean, can we at least get like some Ring of Red type stuff at least?
At minimum.
Like, can we start there and then work our way up to Vonzers?
Yeah.
You do have Chorus that's out there.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a surplus of Cold War tanks. Weld a bunch of lakes onto those at least. Give us.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Oh god, I'm reminded of when DreamPod 9 did a Gear Creek Modern thing for one of their supplements.
I have the Abrams of that. Yeah.
I should
Gear
find
Creek.
that and print that. I've got the World War II Sherman. I still have to do the paint job too.
Oh,
Cool.
nice.
This is the
Is that plastic or is that plastic
well,
or metal?
it's PLA. I printed this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the off that I bought the STL off their shop there. So stoked they're watching
okay.
TV footage of scope dogs tearing up M1A1 Abrams tanks, or that bit from Gasaraki where they do the tactical armors versus the tanks. That's like pure Desert Storm era, beautiful right there. But yeah, it's one of those things where very much like I really wish that Squeenix had commissioned some kind of like 90s era from that era front mission anime. Because there is not enough of this particular type of sci-fi in the mech genre. There's Dogram, which is also just as grounded in terms of like its politics and its world and stuff like that.
Sorry.
But beyond that, for good or for ill, depending on your tastes on the matter, even Votoms gets 2001 level trippy by the end of it. You've got Armor Hunter Mellow Link, at least that one is very much in the same kind of vibe that like I just want what I recently saw some footage from Full Metal Panic: Invisible Victory. I
Yeah.
saw, someone posted a clip on Twitter, and I'm just like looking at that and like, holy shit, this looks good. And then I'm reading the background of the series and like, high school.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll power through that part. It's like, yeah, I basically want Tom Clancy with mechs. Sorry. It's like, I know that not everybody's cool with that. I know there's quite a bit of arguing currently happening on Twitter about this stuff. But yeah, I want Tom Clancy with mechs. I want Robert Ludlum with mechs. I want that kind of feel and style to it. And Front Mission's about the closest thing I've got.
Like, I know when I was... oh, I'm sorry, Sean.
Sorry, I'm just going to quickly say, like, there's a
No,
reason
go
why
ahead.
my favorite, like, Gundam series is actually Stardust Memory and 08 MS Team is because it's a military story. It's not a teenager being put in, a high school kid being put into an experimental robot.
Yeah.
Dude,
War in the Pocket is also a big contender for that too. Yeah.
Yes.
Playing Encounters in Space and playing the 0083 storyline was the best way to first experience that. And I watched the anime right after. Good times.
Yeah.
Encounters in Space was a pretty good game.
I love that game, man. That game is just a thing of beauty.
Yeah. It reminds me of the fact that, like I mentioned, like I said in the video, I want my Wanzer sim, god damn it.
What I was going to mention was like, I've mentioned it a few times, but like thinking about that topic of just the mixing of elements and then like thinking about the idea of like, there were a lot of anime at the time of Front Mission coming out that were blending like this realistic element and this supernatural element. And like, I was talking about this a little bit actually with one of the Mech Bay guys in context to Gasaraki. And what is really funny about Gasaraki is that to us, like, from the respective cultures that we're from, it's almost like the idea of a mysticism existing in the midst of a real like world, or almost like a historiography that we all, may take as real or not real, depending on where we're from or whatnot, is very interesting because that's actually what makes Gasaraki work. Is that it's saying, oh yeah, Japanese myth, some of it, there is some truth to. Not all of it, but in terms of this specific figure from our history, this myth is 100% facts.
Yeah.
And so when you realize that in relation to Gasaraki, I feel like it works a lot better as a series, because then you realize, oh, okay, so this is trying to blend the idea of realistic, hard military fiction with mythologized elements. That,
Right.
like, Japanese people watch Gasaraki, they hear Suna Watanabe, they're like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Whereas us, we might be like, wait, what? Like, wasn't he just real? Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
And then you get distracted by, a wheat price crisis happening.
Well, right. They start reading CNN to you because they're trying to remind you that like this is real life, and like even though you just saw the gravity circles form in Iraq, you gotta remember people eat food and there's an economy and people die and
like, tactics wins.
The world is still going on.
Wins wars.
Right.
Yeah, and politics is war by other means.
And also, I mean, the other reason why I keep mentioning Gasaraki is because even though Gasaraki, like, mythology-wise, is really out there, it is, like, compared to Front Mission in terms of, ripping the headlines from the future, it is scary how, like, good Gasaraki was with the predictions it had about the future.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Nishida's speech.
Yeah.
That shit gives me chills in 2026 listening to that stuff.
Yeah, but since we're on the topic of Ryosuke Takahashi, the creator of Gasaraki...
Just a sec. I'm going to use the restroom very quick. I'll be right back.
No problem. Yeah, we've already been going on this for about an hour and a half at least. 2 hours and a half, actually. But, yeah, one thing, like, if we're going... Like, definitely what we're talking about is Ryosuke Takahashi here. Votoms, Gasaraki, Dougram. and I'm just about to bring up Flag.
Mm.
Flag is probably the realest robot series I have ever watched. It's like, yeah, the whole thing is basically just a big like, and again, also the stuff happening in the background. You think your mission is going to be doing this, it's actually you're doing a military test bed for your particular mech, while the Chinese are also doing the same thing with theirs, and the whole thing turns into that over ostensibly a symbolic element to the as the titular flag there. All of it done in documentary found footage style as an anime.
Mm-hmm.
That is like, damn, that series is good.
Yeah, I'm surprised that one's as obscure as it is. And I would even say, like, because I think you were asking me it earlier on Twitter, Bastien, that, the Gasaraki game, in my opinion, like, once you get past the learning curve of it, it rivals Front Mission 3 in terms of its depth as a strategy game, with some alternatives sprinkled in there.
Yeah, that's the one on PS1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very obscure game, like very, very, very obscure game. I've played it, and I actually have it if either of you wanted to try it, but it's a very interesting game.
Yeah. I don't suppose there's a fan translation of that one somewhere around.
No, it's just that obscure of a game, honestly. I would be definitely interested in like tackling that, because there are some other PS1 games I want to translate at some point in the future, but I'll have to see.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's either that or I figure out how to get a pair of VR headsets on with a translation software in there, so I can just stare at the screen and have the subtitles show up. That'd be pretty cool. Why that doesn't come standard with those kinds of things, I have no idea.
I remember when I first started playing Mecharashi back before Global, I had this like Cyberpunk 2077 like jerry-rigged setup where I had my phone with Google Translate over one eye like a scouter while I was playing Mecharashi in Japanese, just so I could understand and start memorizing some of the buttons and stuff.
Oh man, yeah.
Like it was so silly, but I mean it worked. It did what it did what I needed it to do.
I should probably do that. My wife has a kind of a thing for her phone that's like for selfies or whatever the hell, where it's you put it on a thing on your neck and it holds it there. I'm wondering if I could maybe just raise it up a little bit more and be able to stare at the screen through there. The things we do for fun, aren't... Why is it we all have hobbies that require this much patience and hard work to do?
I don't know, and I mean, that game it just does have a really good story, and that's what carried me through it. Oh, Sean, when you were away, we started talking about this game called Tactical Armor Custom Gasaraki, and it came out on the PS1, and it's also very weird as a game because it's actually a sequel to the anime. So we were like discussing that a bit, and the fact that like it does not have a fan translation only because it's so obscure as a game.
Yeah.
Right.
There's probably dozens of games that would probably fill the same kind of niche in our hearts that Front Mission does. It's just we've never heard of them. Because given how popular Front Mission was in Japan, you have to imagine there's a bunch, like, for instance, Armodyne that I mentioned. You have to imagine there's a bunch of games that, took inspiration from it or did their own thing based on similar concepts, similar setting concepts. We just never heard of that goddamn thing about them because, for whatever reason, they just didn't make it to any kind of popularity that we could be praised of.
Like another one I think of is the Martian successor Nadesco.
Nadesco, yes.
Yeah, the Nadesco one on Dreamcast. It's really good. It's really a good game.
Yeah.
But like you will just be like, what? They made a what? Where?
Yeah,
when?
I never owned a Dreamcast, so there's my problem right there. Martian.
Good Gundam games on the Dreamcast too. You would think, oh, the Dreamcast doesn't have good mech games, but the Dreamcast had a great lineup of just hidden gem mech games that are hidden gems just because they only came out on the Dreamcast.
I don't know whether it's Dreamcast or Saturn. There's Quo Vadis 2, which is some really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, after this stream is over, I'm getting a list of all these games so I can look them up.
Yeah, Corvari is good. I mean, I'm also a fan of shmups like Gradius, and Hyperduel, which is like a mech shmup. I really, really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love its soundtrack. I listen to its soundtrack sometimes to this day. It's just this like just hard rock like metal soundtrack on the Sega Saturn. Great
Nice.
game.
Yeah.
Great game.
Yeah. Another great.
Spriggan is another one I would mention. Honorable mention.
Yeah, I gotta watch that anime.
Or well, no, I mentioned. So when I'm saying Spriggan, although no, the anime is amazing. So I
Yeah.
do suggest it to everybody watching this. If you haven't seen Spriggan, watch Spriggan and like after this is over. But anyway, when I'm saying Spriggan, I'm referring specifically to Spriggan Mark II, which is a shmup that came out on the TurboGrafx, if I remember, which was like a computer that came out in Japan. But I was really impressed by it because it had full dialogue between the characters. There was like an actual plot line going on that I felt was like comparable to Vulcan's storyline actually. And I was like, oh, this is actually like really impressive that this is such a simple medium of playing a mech game, but like they've still got like the things I like in some of the most complicated strategy RPGs known to man.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, Spriggan Mark II. I'm gonna find a picture of that.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they made like a little mini figurine of it. Like there's this series of trading figures they were making for a while that were just like classic action game like robots, but as figurines.
Mm-hmm.
I used to own like a Lanos and a Vulcan figure from that series, and I know they
Nice.
did the Spriggan, and I never was able to get the Spriggan one.
I need to
But
get
now I might 3D print it.
I need to get myself a Lanos and a Vulcan somewhere on my shelves there. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, this is what this one looks like.
Ooh, sweet.
And it also transforms.
Okay, that's cool.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, close to heart. I love the Spriggan mech.
Nice. Yeah, there's a couple of games out there that at least, on PC there's not that many, but there's a couple of them that have shown up, like a Gigantic Army or Metal Blaze or games like that do kind of have that kind of Vulcan feel, Lanos feel to them, which is pretty cool. Definitely need more
Well,
games
hell,
like that.
I'm never gonna not die on this hill. I mean, them re-releasing Assault Suit Lanos 2 on Steam. Whoever did that, give them a raise.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah, that one's damn good.
that game is the only reason I got into Sega Saturn emulation. I mean, I played more Sega Saturn games after it, like the Blue Destiny games, but that game made me emulate Sega Saturn. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Well, for me it was Gun Griffin.
well, no, I mean that's respectable. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I love Gun Griffin too.
Yeah. I mean, if that's a game that it does feel very front mission-y in terms of both its style and its, like you literally feel like you're in the cockpit of practically like an Apache on legs. Just like the way the cockpit's designed, the way it looks. Yeah, it's just
Like an armored,
gorgeous.
yeah.
Yeah. And the way everything explodes when you shoot it up, like the sprite work on that is just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is one of those things where it's like with the Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where they finally had the space on the CDs to put cram more stuff, and instead of going full 3D, they decided to just like take their sprite work to the next level. Gun Griffin feels like that a bit for me. Not to mention it controls on just like a regular controller like that. It controls so well. Like the way you're moving, the way you accelerate, decelerate, and everything, the way you switch to wheels when you max out acceleration like that, boosting up in the air, targeting a tank, just taking out from the air, dropping down. It's just like it feels really good to play, which is really impressive for a game that's that old. Yeah, I should also mention a lot of Hojo's vibes from Gun Griffin. Yeah.
Which Gun Griffin game is that? I think there's a few out. There's a few out there, isn't there? Or is it just?
Yeah, the first two are the ones that are on the. There's 4 Gun Griffin games. The first 2 were on the Saturn. There was another one. Yeah, the other ones after that, there was Gun Griffin Blaze. That was on the Xbox, right?
It's that Blaze was on the PS2, and then there's Allied Strike on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
No, and I
Blaze
know
was more
that because I
arcadey,
played
and Allied
those.
Strike was kind of in between.
Yeah, Allied Strike is such a weird game because it's like it's got the most front mission-esque plot to me, but it is just an action game.
Mm. Yeah. So basically, it is the front mission evolved of Gungriff.
Like kind of honestly, since you're like in the UN and you're like fighting the army of Myanmar. Well, I mean, there's another headline, but anyway, you know, just yeah, that I mean, that's the plot. Like,
crazy. 2004, that game came out, so
it's like Myanmar did some CNN headline worthy shit, and now you're in the country telling them to stop. That's the plot of Allied Strike in a nutshell.
They take offense to that. As one does. Yeah. So let's say you guys, somebody at Square Enix gets hit in the head and decides to give you guys the reins for the front mission IP. What are you guys doing with it?
I mean, I know what I'm doing, so I'll let you guys answer. Unless you want me to go first.
Sean, how about you?
A proper remake of 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one, yeah. Just, mulligan on that
I like that idea.
Yeah. What about you, Slam?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Unless you had something more, Sean.
Oh. Go ahead.
No.
Definitely a Western release of 5 in HD.
Yeah, that would be really, really good.
I mean, they did a remaster. They did the HD remaster of Final Fantasy X and 10 to give us the same thing for the front mission IPs 4 and 5.
Yeah. Would any of you be interested in them doing the Final Fantasy VII remake treatment to a front mission game? Where
they deviate the story?
Well, not necessarily the story, but in terms of like gameplay and stuff like that. They keep the story or not, but Yao Kuno says front mission alternative remaster. That'd be pretty cool.
I would not say the Final Fantasy VII treatment, but I would say like the GameCube Resident Evil 1 treatment to the original Resident Evil 1, because that kept the core of Resident Evil 1 but made everything better in my opinion. So something like that for front mission 4 and 5, or for the older titles would be great for me.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Slammer? What do you think on?
Circling back to what I talked about earlier about what I wish that they had, or was it? Either way, I would probably make an attempt to basically like do the like the front mission, but basically aping off of Valkyria Chronicles. Because I would like to see something like that. Because I mean, for as ambitious as Ring of Red was, the real-time combat area segments were kind of I'm trying to think of a kind way to put it.
Tedious.
They did, yeah, that's basically it. They did get a little tedious, whereas like Valkyria Chronicles was a bit more involved and you're more on your toes in that. And I feel like that would translate to like front mission combat pretty well, but it would also keep it a strategy game for the OG fans that like front mission because it's a strategy game, because they like strategy games.
Because I do remember playing Ring of Red, and that tedious is the word. Yeah. So no, sorry.
Yeah, which is too bad because the setting and the ideas behind that game are awesome.
And then, but other than that, I would probably do what you mentioned before, like make do what am I thinking of? Evolved, but with a good story.
Yeah.
Because that like I said before, like that's really the only like one of the main weak areas of Evolved was its story, because the gameplay and especially the multiplayer was great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the single player story, like if Evolved was like the first front mission game I ever heard of, I probably would still enjoyed the multiplayer, but it would have not gotten me curious about any of the series beforehand. Even if I like started hearing about front mission afterwards, like it was not a good first impression for people that might have had that be their first front mission game.
Yeah, if the campaign had been more akin to a like single player front mission online kind of thing, that would probably gone a lot better.
Yeah, especially especially if they had branching mission paths and whatnot, which would give it a replay value too.
Oh yeah. Or just simply having more of a strategic, like we've seen from other mech sims previously. Obviously the mech warrior title is Heavy Gear, like I mentioned in the video I did, which is like practically a front mission game in and of itself. At that point, just got change wipe off the serial numbers and change a couple of things, but it plays pretty much like that. But having the ability to command, give out orders to your fellow Wanzer pilots and stuff like that. Because the best thing about a good spin-off, something that I've seen in other games, like for instance Command & Conquer Renegade is one of those that really exemplifies this. If you're going to take a long-running series that's in a particular genre and translate it to another one, you have to take the perspective and just move that rather while keeping the general feel of it. What did you do in the Command & Conquer game? You send the little guys to various places to blow things up. What do you do in Command & Conquer Renegade? You are that little guy being sent to various places to blow things up. So there's a continuity of perspective there. In Evolved, when front mission, normally what you're doing is you're directing a bunch of Wanzers to go, complete their missions. In Evolved, you are one of those Wanzers, but there's none of that particular tactical level. You don't translate the overall strategy to the moment-to-moment tactics, really. That's something that was missing from Evolved in terms of gameplay that would have, along with a better story, would have definitely made it something worth remembering, at least in terms of the single player.
Yeah, Evolved is a bit arcadey, and that does kind of hurt it a little bit.
I'd say more than a bit, but yeah.
It's fun, but it's arcadey.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like a tactical war game. It just feels like bang bang shoot robot game.
Yeah.
Which is fun in its own right, but it's not really front mission.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's what pulled people to its multiplayer so much, is because the multiplayer did kind of create that tactics layer, because you did have to rely on your team when it came to like reloading or healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that did like kind of play an interesting element in terms of how people were approaching fights and like maneuvering and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like imagine
you had to know the maps.
Yeah.
And
like imagine
you had to know the maps. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, but it's true. You had to know the maps. Yeah, you had to.
And actually making camouflage patterns for those different maps was more than just because it looks cool,
right?
Yeah.
Kind of like how Alternative did it, where if you pick the right camouflage, the enemies are less accurate because they have a harder time seeing you. Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Like that was what I was gonna say, like in terms of what I would do with the series, is like in terms of making an FF7 style remake, I feel like the game I'd be the most comfortable with doing that with would be Front Mission 1. Mainly because Front Mission Online was like an action game version set in the same setting. And I mean, it looked really fun. I do feel like online does actually have that tactical layer, both on a local and like on a battlefield scale level, where it would actually make the mechanics of Evolved work a lot better if they're presented that way. But the other thing I would want to, if I didn't do that, one thing I would want to do is I would want them to actually remaster Alternative. Because I do feel like Alternative is a really, really, really good front mission that not enough people have tried or played.
Yeah.
Just because it's an RTS. And it's funny because even though alternative doesn't have that same sort of black sheep notion, you know, going back to what you're mentioning with Command and Conquer Bastion, it's funny to think that that game hasn't been played as much because it's not a turn-based tactics game. It's a real-time strategy game and our real-time tactics game.
Yeah. But I think for that one, the reason why it doesn't get it doesn't have the same problems as Evolved or Left Alive has in terms of, like, you know, the reasons why those aren't popular. But it's simply not as well known because it's never gotten, you know, translated and never released outside of Japan officially. So that's really what, you know, holds that one back. So definitely, yeah, if I was in charge of Front Mission, you know, before going into Front Mission 6 or anything like that, definitely go into, you know, a proper remaster, not remake necessarily, but at least a good damn remaster of Front Mission Alternative would be damn well interesting. Because, hell, Front Mission Alternative had mouse controls. It worked with the PlayStation mouse. You could port that thing to PC and have no problems whatsoever. Just, you know, upscale the textures, keep everything exactly the same, give it a nice...
Yeah, I don't know what their problem is, man. Yeah. I don't know what their problem
is. Just keep Forever Entertainment away from it, far away from it.
Yeah. 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 It's just disappointing. It's like one of the problems I had with Evolve is that it felt like they hadn't, you know, put in the effort that they should have. You get the feeling that's kind of the same thing that's happening with the remakes too, just to a degree.
Yeah. I don't. By the way, it's not that I don't disagree with you guys on this. I just have my own opinion. That's all it is.
Nah, no problem.
Oh, one more thing, if you were put in the top of Front Mission Project, and this is just a joke, I would say, hey, there's some asshole in Singapore making a Front Mission light game in Singapore. Let's send him a cease and desist. We have these things. Let's make our own tabletop war game using actual
Better yet, hire that asshole in Singapore to be in charge of your tabletop game division.
I would send a cease and desist to myself, and I'd go on a big Twitter rant about being sent a cease and desist for myself. And everything is all big grunt.
Oh man.
But all that opinion is that I do feel like Evolved has the bones to have a good story that's like a love letter to every Front Mission game.
Yeah, agreed.
I just think it doesn't execute it well.
No, not at all. Yeah, that's its main failing there, because you can tell, you know, digging into it, they reference so much stuff. They reference stuff from Front Mission 2, which at the time it hadn't been translated.
Yeah,
the Vitra, you know, space station satellite thing actually has Fenrir tech that allows it to take control of satellites and stuff like that. And also explains how Conrad Werner is able to res a bunch of, you know, Wanzers in that mission. It's like, yeah, they're disabled, but he bypasses the damage and just, you know, uses the Fenrir tech to just, you know, send them right back at you. Plus, you know, the way he's able to hijack the edge system to, you know, brainwash people and stuff like that. It's like the edge system is that particular aspect of the edge system is basically a throwback to Morgan Bernhardt's ability to rewire the brainwash and, you know, upload his consciousness into S device users. You got Huffman Island, obviously, Fort Monus, and all that stuff that you revisit from Front Mission 1.
The DHZ.
Yeah, bring them back from Front Mission 3. Yeah, I mean, in many ways, Front Mission Evolve is made by people who know Front Mission. They just didn't have the chops to make the story work. Or at least
also
the version of it, because the original script was apparently much, much longer, so who knows what got left on the chopping room floor, you know?
Like, the pieces were there, they just didn't put them together the right way. And the overall cast members were kind of weak and didn't really have, like, I guess, the charisma to carry the story in the way it needed to. And not to mention, the music is totally forgettable.
Yeah, that's something
like,
I've seen
I think the only song I really vaguely remember is the title theme. And I think the credits, because the credits was like a remix of the title theme, I think.
Yeah.
But that's
Right.
about it. The rest of it, everything else is just white noise when I'm trying to remember it.
It's it's purely just like atmospheric, stuff in the background, which at that point,
Like it was basically like movie background music.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
hell, Left Alive had better music than Evolved.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
between the caution, the enemy is approaching. Yeah,
Yeah.
Better. Also, the other crazy thing is actually compelling storylines of all of its protagonists.
yeah,
Like every character that's on the good guy's side in that game is really interesting by comparison to Evolved. You just see it. You see the peaks and the valleys.
yeah. Like even the bad guys in that game have some depth to them. Even some of them are just complete bastards, like Olga's former CEO. But even
Right.
then, there's still something there. You've got the Mr. Baseball, the Zafran soldier that Mikhail gets a bit of a rivalry with. But by the end of it, if you look at the epilogue, if he survives, you realize that his name shows up on the list of leaders of a anti-Zaftra terrorist organization that's been causing problems in that country. He's like, wait, you sent me here to do what? You exposed me to what virus?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
I am not. And you planned on... Okay, that's 3 strikes, pal. You're out of here. Yeah. Had to do it. Plus, Ruslan is just like that. He has a certain kind of like, effed up kind of charisma to him a little bit. Like he's like...
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like his final moments are like, you really want to kill me, you're gonna have to aim here. This is the only part of me that left me.
Yeah, he has aura.
Yeah, Leonid shoots him in the fucking head, and it's just like Terminator sparks. And the next time you see him, it's like the only thing that's left of him are the cybernetics, and it's just like completing mission. And it's like he's just this experimental Wanzer just comes down, and it's shorting out and twitchy almost because it's just got this brain dead cyborg running on autopilot on the controls, and it's like, oh boy.
Svarog is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and the
Volk too.
The Volk too. Yeah, you get the feeling of these are like next gen versions. This is the funny thing about Front Mission. It given enough time, it's going to turn into Armored Core.
I mean, that's that's when I was mad playing Left Alive, is I'm playing with the Volk, and I'm like, where was this in Front Mission Evolved, man?
Well, the Zephyr is pretty cool in terms of design.
It is. Don't get me wrong, but there's just something about the Volk. It's just Yoji Shinkawa. He just did something right when he drew that thing.
It's Yoji Shinkawa. The guy knows how to make some good mechs.
Yeah.
I mean, as you mentioned, when you think about it, Front Mission Wanzers are effectively muscle tracers from Armored Core.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Given enough time, you have the mules, the MULS system, then you have the mules advanced, mule PA, and then you start moving into it. Eventually, you're going to get something that resembles Armored Core in terms of like the capabilities. It's just a question of technology marching on at that point.
Hell, you even kind of see that with the Gracilis in FM5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like the Gracilis, the Zephyr. You get the kind of like that feel to it where they're far more mobile. They're far more airborne in many ways.
That's probably why, like, aesthetically, Armored Core 5 is my favorite of all of it because of how grungy everything looks like. War Machine, like it seems like it recesses back to like a almost like aesthetics.
Yeah. Oh, and the intro to that game is just like, oh yeah, that feels like a Front Mission intro.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that tank,
very much so.
Armored Core with the tank body dropping down the city, and the helicopters, the cores with the sniper, giant sniper cannons taking out aircraft.
Yep.
And then it switches to that montage of just weapon testing and mechs being built, and then this like freaking goddamn CNN war footage happening with giant robots, and I am like, oh, pump this directly into my veins. God, I love it. Again, Tom Clancy with mechs. That's what I want, people. Make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to like pushing out some of this new stuff for Ferris because the
Mm.
next thing I'm pushing for it is multiplayer, like online multiplayer and modding stuff. So then people can actually add some of their stuff into it, or if they even wanted to make games as a mod or a total conversion of it, they could.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, because I know there's plenty of people who are gonna want to put their own stuff or their favorite mechs into the kind of thing. That's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah. All right. So we've gone 3 hours. I think we could cover to as much as we can for that without going completely mad. I don't know if you guys have anything else you gotta do, but I should probably be trying to go to bed at some point. So, what do you guys just to close up? What do you guys have coming up? I know Miles has Ferris. So if you want to talk about that, plus that Slammer, I'm assuming you got some videos in the works.
I'm about finished with the script for the Ring of Red video I'm working on, which is more or less like the front mission videos, where it's kind of like an overview plus my thoughts kind of about the game peppered in, just to kind of bring it to people's awareness. Like, hey, there's this cool mech game that maybe you want to try it for yourself. Here's a bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Nice.
like I said, I'm almost done with the script, and then from there it'll be doing the voice work, and the editing is gonna be. I'm gonna keep it pretty simple. It's gonna be mostly just like the other ones, just gameplay footage in the background and me talking over it.
Yeah.
Maybe popping up on the screen every once in a while, especially when I'm going to be talking about like the gameplay loop, because I'm going to have to be pointing certain things out as I'm talking about it for I guess like a visual aid, because there's a lot going on that screen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What about you, Sean? What's coming from you soon?
Currently, Eisenfront is going through a little bit of a soft reboot. I'm trying to not say rebrand, but reorganize everything, because in Singapore the molds I used to make my models are starting to deteriorate. So I'm beginning to think that molding is not really a best way for me to approach production. So I'm probably going to experiment with 3D printed kits in the future. There's also the Japanese translation. I'm working with my friend to translate all the other data cards for November, which I'll be exhibiting at Game Market. Yeah, I'm not really working on new things to add to Eisenfront, but rather restructuring a little bit and reorganizing the contents I have. Like the data cards which I use for my games, I might be doing away with those, or just having them as a free download for everything, and instead using character sheets, kind of like BattleTech, where you just fill in the data.
Mm-hmm.
Still figuring stuff out.
I do like the data cards, how you can put them into like a little full pocket holder, that card holder thing, and basically have your entire character sheet just made up of those, and it works really well. But yeah, that's another way of going about it too. What's Dr. Slammer's YouTube channel? The link to his YouTube channel is going to be in the description of this video, so you'll find it there. So no problem there, as well as links to Sasoria Game Labs and to Center Fire Hobbies will be there as well. So everybody's stuff is going to be linked there below. What about you, Miles? You're currently working on Ferris and Front Mission Online stuff.
So, oh no, I'll get right into it, and I'll try to not be overly long. Basically, the main thing I've been focusing on lately is Ferris. I'm trying to take Ferris to the DevGram conference in Lisbon, Portugal. I was like telling Lewis about this because I'd like to put it into an indie game competition to potentially win some grant funding.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be an interesting milestone, and I also think that'd be like an interesting way to demonstrate it in a new market. A lot of the process with Ferris has been building it in public. That's why, like, even though it's early access was basically at the end of its alpha, I put it in early access at that point because I felt like people could literally just see the development of it coming out of what me and Lewis are doing. And Lewis has like made plenty of new figurines, and I've added like all of them at this point. Nice. So those new figurines, some new customization features like paint from all the front mission games, and some other aesthetic stuff is like coming very soon, as well as like the multiplayer features and the network modding feature stuff I mentioned. After that, I think he and I are going to have some conversations just to talk about what to do next, since the game will basically be at parity completely with V4 of the rule book that currently exists. And it'll have like a healthy amount of video gamey features that the board game doesn't have, where it could really stand on its own 2 feet. So I think he and I will like visit that. I also would like tell everybody to check out my friend Mira's series OXO. She's been developing this. It's kind of like a comic that is following like a crew of people who are basically part of their own faction and exploring this world, being characters, going through what they're going through. And she and I are like also exploring some stuff that I look forward to telling people more about very soon. And I mentioned like Paladin's Exocav stuff. I have been like working on stuff with him in relation to his series, and I look forward to talking more about like the stuff that we've made. But I would definitely point to people to check that stuff out. And yeah, that Sasori Zero Labs has plenty of things that are coming in the future.
So suffice to say, you're keeping very, very busy.
Yeah, I mean, on top, that's just stuff with the company. Personally, I've been doing the Front Mission Online stuff. People can check out, like, I can give you the Reddit link, Bastian, or the Mediafire link that I hosted it on with the Front Mission Online assets. I know people who are going to 3D print figurines of, like, the pilots and, like, put the, you know, Wanzers together and the mobile weapons and all of that.
Nice.
And so, like, I did that. And then, yeah, this Front Mission Online thing, we're just going to have to wait and see how far I get with it. Because I'll have to tell I was able to make a C++ version of his launcher, but then we need to just talk about next steps with that too.
Yeah. I'll stick in the comments, I'll put in the link for that particular Reddit post you created there, so people can check out all those assets and, you know, have a little bit of fun with that.
Yeah, because it's everything, man. It's every Wanzer, every weapon, every mobile weapon.
Oh, sweet.
Every vehicle, every pilot, it's all of it from online.
Printer go brrr.
And as an extra bonus, I am quote unquote open sourcing the script I used and the tool I used. So if anybody wanted to build on it or take the assets for themselves, they can.
The community owes you a great debt of service.
Thank you. I'm just glad that FM4 guy.
I mean, that is really cool.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as for me, well, you know, new videos will be coming soon as I have the time for them. Just trying to figure out exactly now that I've, you know, kind of, you know, oh, hello, Kitty.
I did alternative too. I did alternative also. So if people want the models for those, I can give them those also.
Ah, nice.
Nice. Yeah. I'm probably going to take a little break from the sci-fi for a bit in terms of the content, just because I've been on a massive sci-fi kick for, you know, months and months now. I should probably do a review of that goddamn Deathstalker movie that came out.
Yeah.
Got a couple of things I could say about that. But yeah, plus, you know, we've got a new Conan series coming from Genndy Tartakovsky. That is going to be so fucking good. Yes.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
Oh man, and it's, you know, taking place during the time of Queen of the Black Coast too. So it's perfect not only for as an adaptation of that, but also the ability to expand, because you got that 2-year period in between the start and end of that story. That's basically just, you know, briefly discussed by Howard, but you can like cram a whole bunch of adventures into that and just go to town. Plus, it's going to be R-rated animation too, so it's perfect for that. Like, Primal was the perfect audition for him to get to do this. This is going to be great. Yeah. Still, Squeenix, make me a Front Mission anime, goddammit. Go back in time to the 90s. Make me a Front Mission anime, toot sweet. Okay? I ain't asking, I'm telling you. Anyway, this has been a 3 hour and nearly 3 hour 15 minutes of front mission talk from all of us. This has been great, guys. I'm glad to have you here.
I'm just gonna quickly add 2 files to the chat just to end this.
I sent my links in the Twitter thread group we're in.
Nice. Yeah, I'll put everything in
there. We go.
Wait, let Lo permit.
Oh, that is beautiful. Oh, I'm saving that.
It'd be funny if that was like the cap of the video, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we are not topping this. This is perfect place right there. On behalf of all of us at Barrel Farms and the glorious methane Wanzers, and of course, on behalf of Sean, Slammer, and Miles, and myself, thank you all for watching. This has been great. And I will see you all next time. Peace out, guys.
Have a good one, everybody.
Y'all take care now.
See you later.
It's nice talking to everybody.